Part 159. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1584. My God, such an amazing fleet, the giant mosquito that is definitely the ancestor level has arrived, and it may even be a more terrifying existence than the giant mosquito ancestor that came last time. Quickly, send the news back to Earth. At the edge of the solar system, a patrolling fleet received the communication coming from the front, and then in great panic, it quickly issued an emergency communication to the Earth and returned. For many people who have enjoyed stability for many years and take their current status as a matter of course, many people forget that their status comes from one creature, Jiayan. In other words, it was the help of the giant mosquito clan that led to our current status. Without the giant mosquito clan, it would be useless even if the current Jiayan is a real earthling, because his strength is not enough. For the entire Earth to achieve its current status, it is impossible to resist a powerful external civilization. So when the news of the arrival of the giant mosquito clan reached the Earth, the high-level people on the Earth who had long enjoyed a superior life were all panicked. Because everything on Earth is now under the control of the giant mosquito clan. Even now, they are wondering if the giant mosquito clan has long forgotten that there will be someone they can help in this Orion arm. Civilization. The giant mosquito family is a powerful race from outside the Orion arm. This is already a consensus on the Earth or in the entire Orion arm. Even many biologists are saying that the giant mosquito seems to be similar to the mosquitoes on the Earth. The creatures are so similar, but because of their huge size, even if they are somewhat similar to mosquitoes, no one would really doubt that this giant mosquito family really has anything to do with the blood-sucking mosquitoes on the Earth. The giant mosquito clan is coming again? And it's such a huge fleet. Some of the battleships are even more than 50 kilometers in size. This. When the high-level officials on Earth heard the news about the giant mosquito clan and learned that what was coming was not a giant mosquito or a giant mosquito battleship, but a fleet, they were all stunned. Each of the high-level officials were so frightened that they could not speak when they found out that there were warships exceeding 50 kilometers in this fleet. After all, for them, let alone a 50-kilometer level battleship, even a 10-kilometer level battleship would be scary to death. But now this alien battleship can actually reach 50 kilometers. You must know that the battleship is like an ancient warship. Each larger aircraft carrier consumes more technological strength and technological level. It is because of the lack of technological strength that the people on Earth today cannot be recognized by other civilizations and empires in terms of technology and culture. But a 50-kilometer class battleship. Not to mention whether there is such a powerful civilization, even if there is, why build such a huge battleship? This shows that there is definitely a need for people to build such a warship. The biggest reason for building such a large warship is because the powerful creatures are huge and require such a huge warship. This represents even greater significance. I wonder if the coming giant mosquito clan will be the master of this battleship? This is definitely not the giant mosquito ancestor last time. This time it is definitely a giant mosquito that is even more powerful than the giant mosquito ancestor last time. We must receive it well. Oh my God, there are really too many strong men in this giant mosquito clan. The ancestor of the giant mosquito that came last time is already invincible in my Orion arm, but there is still such a huge giant mosquito. Of course, this is not certain, maybe there are many people of the giant mosquito clan on the battleship. In short, I don't really believe that such amazing giant mosquitoes exist. No matter what, such a battleship can wipe out our Earth civilization, or our entire Orion arm. What's more, besides that one battleship, there are so many other battleships that are not too different. In short, it's definitely not something that our Earth civilization and the Orion arm civilization can fight against, and the giant mosquito clan has always been very kind to our Orion arm and Earth civilization, so how can they be so disrespectful? Could it be the fake giant mosquito clan? False. What are you asking for? With such a big battleship and such a large fleet, does it make sense to lie to us about the Earth? The higher UPS of the Earth were extremely afraid of the approaching battleship group. Fortunately, they had not lost the grace they had developed over the years, and none of them showed signs of being scared to the point of peeing. The entire Earth quickly began to mobilize, and a large number of people were recruited to make extremely grand preparations to welcome a new creature of the giant Mosquito family. Not long after, the huge battleship group arrived near the Earth. Flying is prohibited for tens of thousands of kilometers around the Earth, so let's stop here. Near Jia Yan's team, Jia Yan issued such an order. Then all the battleships and spaceships in the fleet stopped. This order that spacecraft and warships should not be docked at will near the Earth was issued by Jia Yan himself before. How could he dismantle it now? So a group of people on the other side of the Earth who were prepared to welcome them were somewhat surprised to find that in their opinion, this would definitely not abide by the laws of the Earth. Therefore, the people who did not say that warships could not be suspended near the Earth actually abided by the laws themselves. Stop tens of thousands of kilometers away from the Earth instead of driving arrogantly to the outside of the Earth. Well, they respect us so much. They are worthy of the giant Mosquito clan. Although I don't know why they love our Earth so much, we can't lose our courtesy. Let's go and pay homage to the senior giant Mosquito. I really don't know what kind of senior giant Mosquito will come out of such a huge battleship. Maybe it will be the senior giant Mosquito from before. I'm not sure about this. In short, it's absolutely right for us to go over and greet him. The people on Earth showed great respect for Jia Yan and showed extremely excited expressions. This not only shows that this person respects the Earth civilization, but more importantly, this kind of performance shows that they really don't have much hostility towards the Earth. Later, when they see that they are the seniors of the giant Mosquito family, then the Earth's worries are finally over. Can be removed. So on the Earth side, a group of high-level Earth officials boarded the relatively advanced and fast ultra-small spacecraft on the Orion arm purchased from other places and rushed to the place where Jia Yan and his fleet were located. Not long after, these spaceships arrived. After seeing Jia Yan, a group of battleships coming from outsiders, the eyes of the entire Earth's high-level officials were like wide-open mouse eyes, and they were almost speechless. What kind of fleet is this? My God, the number of this fleet and the size of the individual warships in the fleet are so terrifying. Several high-level officials from the Earth, some from the Earth Alliance, and some from major forces and the military, have become well informed in the years when the status of Earthlings has become very high, but now after they saw Jia Yan's fleet, they were still speechless for a long time, almost scared to death. After all, their knowledge was limited to the Orion arm. They still didn't understand the powerful civilizations and real strong men in the outside world, so they saw that in the great realm of the gods, although they were not powerful, they could because such a large group was rarely dispatched. Even in the powerful spirit realm, it was considered a huge fleet. It was normal for them to be speechless for a long time and extremely shocked. Coupled with the star-level battleships of Wuda and several genius academic fields, Wuda's battleship was as huge as 50 kilometers, which made them even more stunned. Seeing is believing. Even if they had known beforehand that the battleship that Jia Yan came over was 50 kilometers long, but when they actually saw it, they were still shocked by the huge battleship that was like a living planet in front of them. Just like the Aditha. The Aditha back then was 20 kilometers in size. Even alien creatures like Jia Yan who had fought in many places on the planet were scared to death. But now this Wuda battleship has reached a size of 20 kilometers. It is 50 kilometers long, which means that it is more than twice as long as the Aditha. This is just the length. For example, it is a few-month-old baby on Earth. They are half as tall as an adult, and the Aditha is less than half of this huge battleship. This shows that the actual viewing effect is like seeing a baby and an adult. The feeling is very different. What a terrifying fleet. Not to mention Wu Da's battleship, let's just talk about the battleships of several star-level experts beside him. Because they have to sail long distances, they are not small. Coupled with the countless large and small spirit domain battleships or spaceships around, some of the commercial spaceships are even more than 50 kilometers in size and larger than the Jiayan Noda battleship. This is certainly a scary group. The upper reaches of the Earth are half dead. Don't worry, I just came over to Earth to take a look. Just when the senior officials were in shock, a voice reached their ears, and then the senior executives saw a giant mosquito creature that was more than 10 kilometers in size in the largest battleship, slowly turning on its own. The side door flew out. What is the concept of a mosquito that is more than 10 kilometers long? If an ordinary mosquito is only a few millimeters in size, it would take at least an unknown number of billions of mosquitoes to gather in one place to reach the size of this giant mosquito. If we talk about battleships, the people on Earth have never seen such a huge battleship except for a certain aircraft carrier class battleship of the current civilization. But what was in front of him was not a battleship, but a living creature. People on Earth have never thought that a creature could grow to such a terrifying size. For another analogy, let's compare it to a small city in China. For a small or medium-sized city, the land occupied by the main urban area is usually only about 10 kilometers. No matter how big it is considered a medium to large city. And such a mere 10 kilometers a place of any size can house tens of thousands of people. That's a capacity based on the surface area. If people could even live inside, it would be astonishing. Maybe if there was such a 10-kilometer residential area, it could accommodate millions or even tens of millions of people. It can be seen how huge this creature is. My lord, are you a senior of the giant mosquito clan? Because it was completely different from the giant mosquito they imagined, the higher UPS on the Earth were extremely afraid of this creature. With such a big body, let alone good combat power, even if the combat power is average, it can easily flatten a city by just smashing it, let alone such a terrifying giant beast. It is by no means an ordinary existence, and its strength is absolutely shocking. Yes, I am a creature of the giant mosquito family. You, the giant mosquito creature you saw a few years ago, is one of my juniors. Something happened to pass by you this time, and I know that you are like me. A junior was old, so he came over to take a look. Nephew. Hearing the words of this creature, the upper levels of the Earth twitched. Such a terrifying giant mosquito senior is the master of the strongest person on Earth, Lord Jiayan, but in the eyes of such a giant mosquito, he is just a nephew? But it's right to think about it. The giant mosquitoes they saw at that time were only a few hundred meters in size. They were able to roam in space and kill the creatures in the biochemical star field. They were frightened. Frightened by the news. But in the eyes of this giant mosquito that is several hundred meters in size, it is definitely an extremely small creature. If both parties are of the same race, then this giant mosquito that is 10 kilometers in size is definitely an extremely small creature. The upper echelons of the Earth cannot imagine how amazing the creatures would be if their bodies were so huge despite almost no difference in talent. No wonder such an astonishing senior giant mosquito is just a junior in this creature's mouth. But what the Earth's higher UPS don't know is that Jiayan is also struggling in his heart. Should he say that he is the giant mosquito that came to help the Earth? After thinking about it, he decided to forget it, so he casually made up the lie that the giant mosquito before was his junior. Saying it this way, at least it saves you a little time to explain. After all, a creature that was only a few hundred meters huge back then has grown hundreds or thousands of times in a few years, reaching a size of 10 kilometers now, and its strength is even more powerful than that of a human being. Galaxy-level creatures are difficult to explain. Even if they are talents, they are still myths to many beings in the Orion arm. It would be better to use another identity to justify them. Moreover, Jiayan had done similar operations before, so in the eyes of the people on Earth, there were rumors of a giant mosquito clan, with different individuals coming each time to help the Earth survive the disaster. Okay, there's no need to say anything more. I just came to Earth to see you and talk to you about something. There's no need to greet you or anything else. Jia Yan waved his foot, telling the people on Earth not to prepare so many welcoming activities. It is meaningless to waste people and money. Yes, Senior. Several high-level officials on Earth looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. They know that since the other party has such an attitude, they will definitely not embarrass the Earth. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1585. No wonder these high-level people on the Earth are afraid, because they really don't understand, if this creature wants to deal with the Earth, how long can the people of the Earth resist? Not to mention battleships and the like, just him alone, without any strength, can smash all the cities on the Earth with his huge body. Under the guidance of the senior officials, Jia Yan followed their small spacecraft and slowly flew to the Earth tens of thousands of kilometers away. For Jia Yan, the Earth is a place he has not returned to for a long time, so he feels a little emotional. In fact, even if he does not return to the surface of the Earth, Jia Yan can still see some scenery on the Earth, but it is not as intuitive as seeing it with his own eyes. The Earth has really changed. Jia Yan was very emotional. The last time he came back, it was when the Earth participated in the war against the biochemical star field. Even though his status became higher in the later period, Jia Yan left the Earth before he saw the changes on the Earth. But after so many years, the Earth has changed. The hard-earned status has been slowly digested, and changes have gradually become suitable for one's status. Even if the Earth is inferior to other civilizations in terms of military, politics, technology, humanities, etc., the greatest advantage of the Earth Alliance is that it has a very powerful man, and behind this strong man, there is the absolute combat power that can truly dominate the entire Orion arm, the giant mosquito. In fact, they don't know much about the giant mosquito family, let alone other races or civilizations in the Orion arm, and even the Earth civilization itself. In short, this race has been active in the Earth civilization since the crisis of metal robots. At that time, before Jia Yan, the Earth's absolute dominant earthly strongman, appeared, there was already a giant mosquito creature helping the Earth's people. Resisted the mechanical attack from aliens. After that, the giant mosquito clan appeared from time to time, helping the people on Earth survive the crises of extinction. Every time the enemy was powerful, there would always be a more powerful existence in the giant mosquito clan. Of course, this has also led to the fact that people on Earth do not have a strong sense of crisis awareness now, because they feel that even if there is any danger, the giant mosquito family will definitely come to help them again. Sir, this is the Earth, the main star of our civilization. I wonder what you think of our Earth. The higher UPS on the Earth asked Jia Yan this way when they were still hundreds of kilometers away from the Earth's surface. Although he himself didn't see much of the scenery on the Earth, and could only get a general view of the scenery through a little bit of light and shadow effects on the Earth, he understood that the huge man next to him was more than 10 kilometers in size. Creatures must have a clear vision at this time, and they can easily see the scenes on the Earth and even ordinary people. Well, it's good. There are many high-rises and modern buildings, and pedestrians have become very advanced. Even flying cars have become popular. It's good. Jia Yan sighed while watching, but he soon discovered something was wrong. That is, there are not many ancient buildings and cultures on Earth that have been preserved. Although the people on Earth have gradually become more technological, the ancient things cannot be thrown away. I think the path you are taking now is completely copying or using more advanced technology directly, and the old culture and ancient consciousness are all gone. Throw it away, this is very wrong, you should pay attention. Yes, sir, we have all thought of this, but ordinary people will not abide by it. We have no other way. The senior executive was very helpless. They also knew that ancient culture and other things needed to be protected. Otherwise, no matter how influential the Earth Alliance was, without its own culture, it would be like a rootless duckweed. There is no sense of heritage, but compared to the alien civilizations outside, the culture of the Earth is really not worth mentioning. Even the Chinese culture, which many people are talking about, seems like a piece of cake in front of the huge civilization of civilization. Just like children, after all, the time they have been in the interstellar world is as long as the total evolution of human beings. There is no telling how much difference there is in the background. So the people on Earth forgot about ancient times and looked for more convenient technology one after another. Enjoy your own life, regardless of so many cultures and so on. I know that many civilizations slowly die out because they have forgotten their roots and have no moral bottom line. After all, such a civilization cannot survive for a long time. This is all for you to understand. Bar. Jia Yan said calmly. The senior executive was so sweaty when he heard this. Although they also knew that it was wrong for the Earth to forget all culture, they never expected that in the mouth of this top powerhouse, he would actually say that culture dies. Things that will destroy civilization. What Jia Yan said is very correct. He has really heard and seen such things in the universe all the time. Especially some civilizations that have just entered the home of cosmic civilization are often impressed by the civilizations outside, and then they become no longer themselves. So he doesn't want the Earth to become like that. After looking at the scenery on Earth, Jia Yan sighed. In fact, he also wanted to go to the surface of the Earth and see it, but when he saw his size and body, he had no choice. He is now 10 kilometers tall, and with his feet spread wide, he can at least completely surround the surrounding area of 40 to 50 kilometers under his control. If he goes to the Earth, it will be like an asteroid entering the interior of the Earth. The noise caused by its size alone can scare many children into tears. And there is a certain possibility that it will cause climate change on such a planet. Even a tsunami occurs. Jia Yan is not afraid of other planets. At worst, he will just leave if he gets into some trouble. But the Earth cannot do that. This is his home planet. Let alone causing huge disasters to the Earth, even if he breaks down a house, he will step on it. If a big tree falls, he will become very unhappy. So he decided not to go down, and there was no place that could accommodate him. Sir, we have ordered the army to go to the desert and prepare it there. You and your warships can go down there. Otherwise, go to the sea and visit our Earth. No need. Alas, the Earth is doing well. I just want to be able to talk to my nephew when I go back. Jia Yan shook his head lightly. When you guys come to my battleship later, I will tell you something. At the same time, connect your communications to the headquarters of several major civilizations. I will also make some announcements to them. Yes, sir. After hearing that Jia Yan would not go down to the Earth, several senior officials let out a long sigh of relief. Just as Jia Yan was worried, they were also worried that such a huge monster would cause huge panic if it came to the Earth. Even now it has caused panic. Knowing that the giant mosquito will come today, almost many people on Earth are using their portable telescopes to look at the sky. Although they know that they will definitely not be able to see anything, but always a hope. But something unbelievable happened. Many people still see Jia Yan in the universe. After all, he has arrived at a place only a few hundred kilometers away from the Earth. Even for people on Earth, this is almost outer space, but a few hundred kilometers is still too close. Yan's huge 10-kilometer body is like another moon, directly seen by countless people on Earth in its true face in the blue sky. A mass of 10 kilometers came hundreds of kilometers away from the Earth, and even caused a tidal phenomenon in the sea. Even though Jia Yan had used his brainwave power to control himself not to have too much impact on the Earth, it would still be the Earth has been affected to an astonishing extent, and even the climate in some areas has become different. Fortunately, after he discovered this, he quickly flew back, thus avoiding further adverse effects on the Earth. Fortunately, the Earth today is no longer the Earth it was in the past. Just a few changes in nature will cause huge changes in the Earth. At least they already have a set of technological control tools to control nature, so this has little impact. Okay, I'll go back and wait. You guys will come over later. Jia Yan returned to the battleship group. The senior officials on Earth sighed one by one, lamenting that the creatures of the giant mosquito family were indeed powerful to a degree that they could not even imagine. The giant mosquito that came earlier was terrifying enough, sweeping across the biochemical star field. The fleet of that small country seemed to be just for fun, but the one who came now was even more amazing. It is simply terrifying. Even when it enters the vicinity of the Earth, it will cause astronomical phenomena. Only then did they realize how terrifying a truly powerful creature in the universe would be. Let's quickly notify other civilizations. We need to connect remotely. How much energy will be used? Alas, but there is no way. What this adult is going to say must be big. The Earth senior officials quickly controlled the spacecraft and headed towards the current core location of the Earth Alliance, which is the Shanghai Stock Exchange. When Jia Yan flew away from the Earth, countless celebrities and humans with some cultivation ability on the Earth were all stunned and had just recovered from the shock. Ah, my God! Is this the powerful giant mosquito clan coming today? It's simply too scary. This is definitely not a living thing, but an asteroid. Didn't you see him move? This, the universe is really full of surprises, there are such terrifying and huge beasts. The seniors of the giant mosquito clan that we saw before are simply insignificant in front of this lord. I can't even imagine what kind of strength such a terrifying existence can have. Forget it, this lord will definitely not be pretentious to us earthlings. We still have to rely on the seniors of the giant mosquito clan. This lord is really beyond the reach of our planet. People on the Earth are shocked by the terrifying and huge size of the coming creatures, as if there is an extra moon in the sky. Anyone who sees such a creature will find it unbelievable. On the Geo family's side, at the same time, many Geo family members were looking at the unbelievably huge creature above their heads. This Jiarong, who was still talking about wanting to deal with the giant mosquito clan, felt that he was almost drowned by a mouthful of saliva. He said that he wanted to deal with the giant mosquito clan. He originally thought it was a possibility, but now he saw that there was such a shocking being among the giant mosquito clan. Even that being had a look in his eyes when he was in mid-air. He seemed to be glancing towards the Geo family vaguely, and he was also swept away by his gaze. Then Jiarong felt an astonishing aura suppressing himself, making him unable to move. This was not intentional by the other party, but the gap in natural strength was too large, resulting in natural suppression. If he used his true power, Jiarong even felt that he might be vaporized by this look in an instant. This gap in strength can no longer be explained with words. See, this is the giant mosquito. Beside Jiarong, Satsuma Quan said with a wry smile. Jiarong thought that she was giving up the idea of dealing with the giant mosquito clan, but he did not notice that his mother had a complicated expression when she looked at the terrifying giant mosquito at this moment. Yes, Satsuma-chan was also a little shocked. Even though she originally knew that Jia Yan's improvement in strength was extremely astonishing, the fact that Jia Yan's current appearance still shocked her deeply, and she also felt that between herself and this existence, there is a huge gap. The gap between the two sides is too big, and it will get bigger and bigger in the future. This makes Satsuma Temple shaken for the first time after waiting for so many years. Are you worthy of being worthy of this great level of existence? Let's not talk about the reaction on the Earth side, But let's just say that among the several major civilizations that people on Earth are working hard to contact, there is a powerful ignorance that is regarded as the Orion arm of the border guard. This civilization is not weak in strength, at least it ranks among the top 10 in Orion arms. However, the top leaders of this civilization are now a little panicked and at a loss. This, sir, you are the envoy of the third largest civilization in the biochemical star territory. Naturally, we dare not neglect it, but in our Orion arms, we are not the only ones who can decide anything. We need your conditions. Only after discussing with other civilizations can I give you an answer. Huh? My conditions are already very generous to you. Let's do this. The requirement of my civilization is that you, the Orion arm, become our vassals. Since you can't make the decision, then I will change my request now, that is, your civilization will give us civilization should be the first vassal, and I will soon make other Orion arm civilizations our vassals. Then you who are the first to become vassals will become the first civilization in the entire Orion arm. This will bring you the same benefits. That's enough. An existence that has reached the peak of the Supreme Being stands proudly in the starry sky. There were battleships in front of him, but these battleships did not dare to have any thoughts of opening fire. They just stayed in place awkwardly, waiting for the order to go up the mountain. This creature is from the biochemical star field adjacent to the Orion arm. It is also a visitor from the biochemical star field that almost defeated the entire Orion arm last time. It's just that the one who attacked the Orion arm last time was just a small civilization on the border. But this time, it was the third largest civilization envoy in the entire biochemical star field. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1586. Sir, you are welcome to come to our Orion arm to discuss matters. There is no problem even if we open up the frontier to commerce, but you want the civilization in our Orion arm. For example, if we become vassals of your civilization, this is it's too much, of course. Our civilization is very willing to become a vassal of a powerful civilization, but we are afraid that other civilizations in the Orion arm will not agree. After all, we are still a member of the Orion arm. If we are bored by other civilizations, it's not easy for us either, so please be accommodating. In that fleet, there were still some bolder senior officials. When this late-stage creature of the Venerable said that he wanted the civilization to become a vassal first, the senior executive hesitated and spoke. Oh? Haha, so you are unwilling? And your Orion arm is so weak, so what if you are unwilling? If we didn't know that you produce good minerals here, our civilization would still look down on this place. The creature said this calmly. In fact, what he said is not completely correct, because the Orion arm is too big, not much smaller than the entire biochemical star field where he is located, and the third largest civilization in the biochemical star field where he is located. It is just the third largest civilization in the biochemical star field. You can imagine how amazing it would be for his civilization if it could occupy such a huge territory. Of course, the biochemical star territory has always been thinking about the Orion arm, but it was because of the barrier of senior TNG and the inability to figure out the details of the Orion arm, so it kept delaying it like this. After all, everything in the biochemical star territory is complicated. Enough for many civilizations to suffer. But the previous civilization on the border launched a war, and the civilization in the biochemical star territory knew the result through various channels. Although the small border civilization in the biochemical star territory failed in the end, they also knew at the same time that this Orion arm was actually like this in a weak place. They can capture the Orion arm with any partial force they send. So finally, the third largest civilization in the biochemical star territory has finally arrived. It may even be more than just them. There will be other civilizations in the future that will invade from other parts of the Orion Arm and carve up the Orion Arm. As for the barrier, after it was slowly eroded by the forces of the biochemical civilization after the First World War, it became extremely weak. Even this late-stage creature of the Venerable could not stop it. Don't worry, I know you can't make the decision. Go back and talk to your civilization leaders. You don't have to worry about being squeezed out by other civilizations in the Orion Arm, because your Orion Arm will fall soon, not our civilization. It will also be several other civilizations, so you can know for yourself. The expression of the senior officer of the fleet changed greatly, and then his face darkened. After remembering something, he opened his mouth and said, "Your Excellency, don't forget that we still have some masters in Orion's arms, such as Jia from the Earth Alliance. Master Yan, and the giant Mosquito clan behind Master Jia Yan." "Lord Jia Yan? The giant Mosquito clan? Ha!" The creature in the later stage of the Venerable almost laughed out loud when he heard this. "We have seen the intelligence on your side. In the entire Orion Arm, the strongest man in the country is actually just a Venerable. And the combat power of this Venerable is 100,000 worse than half a star. 8,000 miles away, I can easily deal with him. In addition, what kind of giant mosquitoes are you talking about, right? We in the biochemical star territory have never heard of this race, but we have fought against a so-called giant mosquito, and we must know him better than you do. The so-called giant mosquito clan is basically the product of your Orion Arm. There is no such thing as a race or a strong person. In short, just think of him as a liar. With the power of our civilization, this kind of incompetence is impossible. The evolved beast is nothing to worry about. This creature of the lower level of the Venerable seems to know a lot about Jia Yan. It's no wonder that he understands more, because Jia Yan once personally visited the biochemical star territory and his party, and later the strongest man in the biochemical star territory, Huo Chu, also chased Jia Yan to the genius battle territory, and dealt with Jia Yan's the origins and strength, etc., must be understood much more than the Orion Arm people who are kept in the dark. Therefore, for the so-called giant mosquito clan, this coming civilization has long been known to be a fictitious thing. Moreover, they have a strong desire to take revenge on Jia Yan, the giant mosquito. After all, they were in the biochemical star field at the beginning. The assessment process was greatly damaged, causing several geniuses in the biochemical star domain to lose the opportunity to enter the genius battle domain. In addition, the senior officials of the biochemical star territory are also a little worried. After all, the name of the evolved beast is too big in this starry sky. Every time an extremely powerful person appears in the evolved beast clan, it is almost always the neighboring ones who suffer at first. Star territory, so at this moment, they came to the Orion Arm for encirclement and suppression. They also had a certain idea, that is, to attract Jia Yan, the evolved beast of the earth, and kill him in one go to avoid future troubles. Huh? The giant mosquito clan doesn't exist? Liar. This. The top executive of the top 10 civilization fleets in the Orion Arm was greatly shocked by the words he heard. He was just an ordinary creature of the Orion Arm civilization. He didn't even know the giant mosquito family, let alone understand it. The meeting, that is, I met him once during the war, but I saw him from a distance. But now it seems that the extremely shocking seniors of the giant mosquito clan are not that much stronger compared to the extremely powerful lower-level creature of the Venerable in front of them. Although he is definitely stronger than the opponent, you must know that this is just an ordinary envoy in the biochemical star field. I heard that behind this existence, there are not only more powerful semi-star level creatures, but also people who have reached the level of him. A star-level powerhouse that even the natives of the Orion Arm cannot understand. It is absolutely impossible for the senior of the giant mosquito clan to reach the stellar level. Although this senior executive does not know how terrifying the stellar level will be, he also knows that it is absolutely earth-shattering and terrifying. Encountering something like the last time when the biochemical star territory civilization attacks a crisis, it doesn't require so much effort at all. Okay, let me give you an ultimatum. In 10 days, our civilization will come in force. If you are not ready within this time period, then don't blame us for taking action. The venerable level creature looked at the group of immobile warships in front of him and sneered disdainfully. For such a creature of the lower level of the venerable, he would never dare to face a battleship in the outside world, but after coming to the Orion Arm, he has almost no fear of facing a battleship. This is like a sudden improvement in his strength. It feels great to fight in a place where Wei is extremely weak. But within the Orion Arm, this creature was still affected by the energy from Tianji. After staying for a long time, he couldn't bear it, so he quickly gave an ultimatum and left. After he left, the senior management of the fleet and all the subordinates in the battleships were all stunned. Because they felt that things would definitely not get better this time. A visitor from the outside, and a visitor with such terrifying strength, to the ordinary creatures in this star field, it is like a visit to the sky. But the mere arrival of this powerful man was already extremely shocking, but the most alarming thing was the attack notice he brought. The third most powerful civilization in the biochemical star field, this is like a real sky to the creatures in the Orion Arm. It is estimated that any relatively powerful person who walks out of it can easily break through the entire Orion Arm. Although in this everyone in the fleet knows that Lord Jiayan, the strongest man on Earth and the strongest man in Orion's arms, probably has some resistance, but he is by no means just a low-level creature of the venerable. More the powerful person has not shown up yet. Quickly, inform Earth and several other allies that our Orion Arm is in trouble again. This high-level executive is actually a prince from the top 10 civilizations behind him. At this time, he has the power to directly communicate and exchange with the Earth and other major civilizations. He is anxious, and his greatest hope now is none other than Lord Jiayan from Earth. He didn't think Lord Jiayan could deal with that entire powerful civilization, because he knew Lord Jiayan's strength. Back then, he almost died in front of a half-star existence. Now, even if his strength improves a few years later, but how much better can we improve? Against that creature at the lower level of the venerable, there is probably a slight chance of winning, but is he just that strong? Even this late-level creature of the venerable is probably just a little bastard, just here to send a message. It would be best to invite the giant Mosquito clan behind Lord Jiayan to appear. But just now, the creature at the lower level of the Lord said that the giant Mosquito clan are liars. I don't quite understand, but I always feel that there is something inside. Inside, there is nothing wrong in telling Mr. Jiayan, I just hope nothing happens to the giant Mosquito clan. The prince felt that the pressure this time was too great. So not long after, using all the energy and connections, his communication was received by the Orion Arm's temporary alliance. This is a small planet not far from the border. Although this planet did not have much reputation in the past, it is now one of the most famous places in the Orion Arm because it is an alliance formed to resist the biochemical star field. Headquarters, so this small planet was named Alliance Star. On the Alliance Star, the Earth and other major civilizations have sent a large number of staff. They are not only responsible for coordinating the work of the Alliance, but also fighting for the interests of the civilization behind them and the Alliance. Today, this Alliance Star is almost crowded with people, and every creature is beaming with joy. Haha, it turns out that the one who came is the Lord of the Giant Mosquito clan. The Lord of the Giant Mosquito clan actually has such a terrifying master. The Giant Mosquito clan is really good for our Orion Arm, no, for the Earth Alliance, but it is good for the Earth, and it is also good for our current Orion Arm, which is a piece of iron. In disguise, it is good for our Orion Arm as a whole. So it's a happy event. Yes, it is almost a great joy for our Orion arm to be able to meet such an adult. A group of senior officials from major civilizations have already received a piece of information from Jiayan. They even received a message that the top powerhouse of the giant Mosquito clan had something to discuss, and they needed to send some senior officials to conduct a super long-distance on-site meeting. This super long-distance communication capability is not something that can be carried out within Orion's arms, but top-notch communication equipment purchased from the outside world through means, and it is extremely expensive. Quick, let's go to the conference room. The giant Mosquito is about to talk to us. Several high-level officials have been authorized by their respective civilizations or empires to speak on behalf of their interests, and no matter what the giant Mosquito says, with their strength, even though it is said to be a discussion, it is actually just a direct order, just a formality. The high-level people of the earth have been proud here for many years and have a very high status. Therefore, before they enter the conference room, the people from the earth walk in front, followed by the representatives of major civilizations. No one said anything about this situation. Especially today, knowing that the person who came was a giant Mosquito, and that he visited the earth first, made the status of the people on the earth even more different. Okay, let's start the communication. After a group of senior executives were seated, a female alien creature walked onto the stage, and although it is not a dish that people on Earth appreciate, it is not that ugly. In short, the aesthetics of Earth people have not yet completely integrated with that of aliens. But in general, this kind of look is very clean and has a unique appearance. The female creatures are by no means inaccessible animals to the people on Earth, and they are somewhat favorable to them. Adults, I will start the connection. The female creature opened the contact button of a certain channel. Not long after, a huge screen appeared in the eyes of the senior executives. And in front of this screen, a person whose picture quality is not very clear, but who can vaguely see that it is an unimaginably huge giant mosquito creature, appears on the screen. This is Lord Giant Mosquito. Scary, so huge. One after another, the Alliance's top executives saw such a huge creature, especially compared with several Earthling top executives who were flying beside him and were also in the camera, but were not much different from an ant. Their expressions changed greatly. Knowing what an amazing being this so-called new master of the giant Mosquito clan is. The giant mosquito that came to Orion's arm last time was only a few hundred meters tall. Of course, at the time, it seemed that he was an extremely huge creature. But with this person appearing in the camera, even if it is impossible to calculate, it can definitely be roughly seen that compared with the giant mosquito that is more than 10 kilometers in size, it is like a small insect. Compared with the huge mountain, it can be used how different to describe it. In other words, the strength gap between the two sides may reach an extremely huge level, and the previous giant mosquito was so terrifying, this one? Just when a group of senior executives were about to say hello to this master of the giant mosquito clan. Adults, it's not good. The biochemical star field is preparing to start a war against my Orion arm again. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1587. What? The biochemical star field is here again. The high-ranking envoys of various major civilizations in the Orion arm who were just about to talk to the giant mosquito were all stunned. They had just thought about the giant mosquito clan helping the Orion arm to fight against the enemies of the biochemical star territory from the outside, but now they immediately heard the invading remarks from the biochemical star territory. This was simply shocking. They thought they were being arrogant. The giant mosquito creature on the other side of the screen also heard these words, but he did not speak, but his eyes flashed, and then he silently observed the changes in the scene on the other side. The person who came to the conference room was a male adjutant who looked like he was from Earth. Several adults, news just came from the border, saying that there are intruders in the biochemical star territory, and that there will be an even larger army of the biochemical empire coming in the future, and even the third civilization, and several more will not be counted. A weak biochemical empire civilization. The third strongest civilization in the biochemical star territory. The last time it attacked our Orion arm, it was just a small civilization on the border of the biochemical star territory. Now the third largest civilization has come back. How can we, the Orion arm, resist? It's over. Our Orion arm is really going to be over. After hearing this, the expressions of several Orion arm creatures suddenly changed and they almost collapsed. As a closed star field, although they had no understanding of outside creatures and the outside world before, the last biochemical star field war also had advantages, that is, it gave the Orion arm an opportunity to enter the outside world. So after getting to know each other for a while, they finally found out that not only was the civilization that came to attack more powerful, there was also an incomparably powerful civilization above it that was even more powerful than him, and even more amazing civilizations that were even more powerful than half a star. Of scary creatures. The biochemical star field is one of the most powerful star fields around the Orion arm. Now this biochemical star field is actually going to attack their Orion arm in a big way. These senior officials were naturally extremely frightened. We must know how powerful the real strong people and real civilizations in the biochemical star field are. As high-level people, they don't know how powerful they are. They even know dozens or hundreds of times more than ordinary creatures. The third civilization in the biochemical star field is a civilization with stellar powerhouses. As for the star level, any one of them can sweep through several surrounding star fields including the Orion arm. Unless they encounter the same star-level powerhouse, they will be blocked. Our Orion arm is going to be finished. The few people immediately forgot what conversation they were going to have with Jia Yan, but all of them were in a daze, thinking that the sky was going to fall. After all, as the top leaders of a weak star field, they are under a lot of pressure. Especially after knowing how powerful the biochemical star field is, they are even thinking about it day and night. How can they resolve the biggest threat to the biochemical star field? In order to resolve the crisis in the biochemical star field, they even resorted to bribery, bribing the so-called informants, or high-level officials, of several more powerful civilizations. They originally thought that they would be able to sit back and relax, but now at first glance, he must have been tricked. What to do now? There is nothing we can do. The strength of our Orion arm is impossible to deal with. A senior executive was stunned and his eyes suddenly froze. Following his line of sight, several senior executives looked at the extremely amazing senior giant Mosquito who was talking to them across the screen. Although they did not believe that the senior giant Mosquito last time had the ability to resist the current situation, this time the senior giant Mosquito was a huge creature that had reached a level of more than 10 kilometers. They don't know how strong this giant mosquito is, and they don't even think that such a giant mosquito senior can resist the attack of the entire biochemical star field. Even if he is also a star, he is only fighting against a star, right? If the biochemical star realm really wants to attack the Orion arm, then there will definitely not be only one star level 1. How many more can this giant mosquito senior be able to deal with? Besides, they didn't believe that the giant mosquito senior, the person who talked to them peacefully and calmly, would be a stellar figure. But now, they can't help but ask for it. Sir, Senior Giant Mosquito, I wonder if you can. A high-level official from another civilization had some doubts when he spoke at this moment. Because this civilization is not familiar with this mysterious race of giant mosquitoes at all, and as a new giant mosquito senior, will this senior treat Orion arm like the previous giant mosquito who helped Orion arm? Being willing to fight desperately for them was something he didn't know either. Let me do it. The high-ranking person on Earth stood up. For him, he was watching giant mosquitoes help the people on Earth right in front of his eyes from the metal crisis on the Earth. To the giant mosquito clan, he only felt grateful and familiar with them. So at this moment, he dared to speak. Senior Giant Mosquito, you have also seen that there is a new crisis in our Orion arm, and it is the same crisis that came to the biochemical star territory last time. I wonder if you, Senior, can help me in the Orion arm? Of course, if Senior thinks that there is no matter how difficult it is, forget it, after all, we can't put our seniors in danger. The words spoken by this high-ranking person on Earth were quite level. He neither kidnapped Jia Yan nor said any friendly words to Jia Yan. He even told Jia Yan to leave directly if he assessed the risk. This makes others sound like they are having a breath of fresh air, at least it's hard to say they have any bad feelings. Jia Yan was already on the other side and heard these conversations. He didn't think there was anything surprising about the attack from the biochemical star field. What surprised him was that it was a coincidence. He was leading the army to the Orion arm, and he happened to not know how to speak. There was actually a biochemical star field. Characters from the star territory come to cause trouble. After hearing the request from the Earth's top executive, Jia Yan smiled lightly. Don't worry, everyone. I also know about the biochemical star territory, but you don't need to be afraid. This biochemical star territory is just a clown. Let's do this. I will send a few subordinates to guard the Orion arm in all directions. Jia Yan was not prepared to do it himself, because in his past, the biochemical star field was indeed extremely powerful, almost an unbelievably powerful behemoth. But now Jia Yan no longer thinks much of this star field. Because there is only one middle-level star in the biochemical star field, and the remaining ones are only a few kitten or two of the first-level star powerhouses, and they are relatively weak among the first-level powerhouses. For the former Jia Yan it is said that it is a powerful force that is impossible to fight against, but for him now, it's just childish. After all, now he is almost helpless even to a galaxy level. It is easy to deal with such a star field. Even if he doesn't take action himself and only sends his current subordinates, it will be more than enough. The strength of each of his subordinates has reached the stellar mid-level level. Although they have just reached the stellar mid-level, there is still room for improvement in their strength. In addition, the yin and yang dao strength he taught his subordinates, against the previous one a middle-level star, as long as he is not as powerful as Wuda, he can at least tie. Don't forget, he has more than one subordinate, but as many as 9. The mid-level strength of the 9 stars, not to mention fighting against the biochemical star field, or directly subduing the biochemical star field, will not have any problems. The senior executives here were all confused at this moment. They thought that Jia Yan should be very concerned about this biochemical star field, and at least he would take action personally, but he actually said in his words that he was not going to take action himself, and would let a group of his subordinates do it. Although the senior executives of the Orion arm here do not know the strength of the giant mosquito Jia Yan, let alone the strength of the subordinates of the giant mosquito senior, they always believe that the biochemical star field is absolutely terrifyingly powerful. Power, Jia Yan, the giant mosquito exists, not to mention convincing. Even if he goes out in person, it would be good to reduce the pressure on the Orion arm a little bit. But now, he is not going to do it himself, but chooses to let his so-called subordinates do it. This is a bit too arrogant. Senior Giant Mosquito, you may not know that the strength of the biochemical star field is not just as simple as our Orion arm, they also have the strength of an intermediate star. A senior executive of the Orion arm civilization finally couldn't help but speak. Jia Yan glanced at the creature lightly, then shook his head impatiently. A stellar mid-level? Haha, let alone one stellar mid-level, even if he has 10 stellar mid-levels, he can still give it a try. Anyway, don't worry, my subordinates are enough to deal with the biochemical star field. Jia Yan's words made a group of senior executives present have their eyes light up. What they fear most is that Jia Yan is not confident, but now Jia Yan is not only confident, but even extremely arrogant. It is normal to be arrogant with strength, but a confident person without strength cannot live with such terrifying strength. In other words, Jia Yan's confidence definitely comes from the bottom of his heart. This adult is definitely more than they imagined. From what he said, he didn't even look down on a mid-level star. Thinking of this, the Orion Arm executives all felt a numbness in their scalps. Not even paying attention to the strength of the mid-level stars, then what kind of strength has this existence achieved, and what is the level of this strength? As creatures from a backward star field, they could not guess at all, and they even only vaguely knew that there were actually other levels above the star level. However, as senior members of the Orion Arm, they all vaguely knew that's all. Other ordinary Orion Arm people are even less likely to know. They were all speculating in their hearts that this giant Mosquito Senior would be a peak being at the middle level of a star, or even, there was a slight possibility that he could be a creature that had reached the lower level of a star. No wonder, the subordinates he has seemed to be mid-level strong men of the stars. Without that kind of strength, how could he have such terrifying strong men? Of course, as for what kind of strength it is, it depends on how the senior's subordinates perform next. They were all praying from the bottom of their hearts that Jia Yan wouldn't be lying. As for Jia Yan, there will naturally be no big talk. Just after finishing his call with a group of Orion Arm executives, Jia Yan hung up the communication. Don't think that he forgot to talk about the arrangements for the living beings in the Great Spirit Realm. In fact, he suddenly thought of something during this call. Since these creatures from the biochemical star realm dare to attack my Orion Arm, they should be prepared to bear the consequences. In this case, these creatures from the divine realm will have a place to make arrangements. Jia Yan's plan is to get a piece of territory after defeating the biochemical star territory and make it the territory of the creatures in the divine domain. Of course, in name, this territory must belong to the Orion Arm. He has no idea of directly devouring the biochemical star territory. Although with his current strength, it is a very simple matter, but ruling is definitely not that simple, and there are only a few core powerhouses such as Jia Yan here. The strength below is directly broken. It is absolutely impossible to manage such a large star field. After all, you are a foreign invader. If you want to completely control another place, you must be as crushing as the biochemical star field. With the strength to defeat the Orion Arm, it can even kill all the creatures in the Orion Arm and immigrate them as a whole. Only in this way can it be said that it can rule with peace of mind, otherwise it will be very difficult. And when Jia Yan finished the conversation with this group of creatures, two huge pieces of news that affected the entire Orion Arm had begun to spread like crazy throughout the entire Orion Arm. Because the two news are sequential, and because of geographical relations, some places heard the news that the giant Mosquito Seniors were coming again first, while other places heard the news first that the entire biochemical star territory was going to attack in a large scale. Therefore, the sequence of the two news reflects the different reactions of the people to the two news. Wherever they heard the news of the coming of the starfield, people immediately began to flee. At that time, long-distance spaceship tickets and the right to live on small planets reached their peak in an instant, and all within a few light years of the entire blockbuster appeared. Massive exodus. And next, when they heard the news that another extremely powerful senior from the giant Mosquito clan would come to help the Orion Arm, the idea of escape had already arisen in everyone's heart, so although the situation was a little better, it was still it's uncontrollable. On the other side, it was much better when they heard that the seniors of the giant Mosquito clan were visiting, and then there was news from the biochemical star territory, because the first thing they heard was about how terrifying the friendly seniors of the giant mosquitoes were. How come there is such a huge fleet? And after hearing the news about the biochemical star field, I knew that the giant Mosquito clan would help the Orion Arm, so it became much more stable. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1588. Later, from the Earth, the civilization that is now the well-deserved first center of the Orion Arm, a message that made all the Orion Arm civilizations and people rejoice was spread, which greatly reassured people's hearts. That is, the ancestors of the giant mosquito clan who just visited the Earth. When they heard about the attack on the Orion Arm by the biochemical star territory again, they suddenly felt the suffering of the people in the Orion Arm. They thought that the biochemical star territory was ambitious and wanted to destroy the interstellar peace, so the ancestor with an order, the 9 powerful subordinates accompanying the ancestor and the huge fleet led by them were sent to fight against the biochemical star field. They must directly counterattack into the biochemical star field and make the star field suffer. Even in this whole process, the Orion Arm only needs to help from the side, that is, to beat the autumn wind and wave the flag. Master Giant Mosquito Ancestor, you actually divided your troops? Isn't this a bit too radical? That's not right. The Giant Mosquito clan has always been very powerful, let alone such a powerful senior of the Giant Mosquito clan. He should not make the mistake of underestimating his opponent. Then there are 2 possibilities. The first is that the senior of the Giant Mosquito clan does not know the strength of the biochemical star field, and the second is that the senior of the Giant Mosquito clan is a bit too arrogant. And this kind of arrogance is definitely based on the fact that the strength of both parties is at least about the same. Then it's simple. Even if the strength of both sides is similar, our Orion Arm can be saved. After all, if the strength of both sides is similar, then the biochemical star territory may give up on our Orion Arm considering the risk of hostility. And if it is the first type, it will be of great benefit to our Orion Arm. If the biochemical star field is conquered in one battle, then our Orion Arm will become stronger in the surrounding star fields in the future. Even if everyone knows that our background is the Giant Mosquito clan behind us, just like the status of the Earth Alliance within our Orion Arm, everyone knows that the people on Earth are not engaged in production, technology, and the strength of the strong, but it has still become the most powerful civilization in our Orion Arm. Isn't it because the Giant Mosquito clan is helping the Earth Alliance? If the Giant Mosquito clan can really defeat the biochemical star field, then our Orion Arm will be around this star field, definitely becoming a place similar to what Earth is within my Orion Arms. When news came from the direction of the Earth that the ancestors of the giant mosquitoes had dispatched an extremely astonishing group of battleships and subordinates, many high-level officials in the Orion Arm received the news, so some of them gathered together to discuss the solution, views on the matter, and analysis of future war prospects. But among the news they received, what caught their attention the most was that the giant mosquito senior actually asked several of his subordinates to divide their forces into many places. Even the fleet that originally seemed to be relatively large, after dividing the troops, became it was relatively sparse, and even among the seemingly strongest formation under the senior, only 2 battleships followed. This made them feel deeply puzzled. Although everyone thought that the strength of senior giant mosquito was not bad, after all, his subordinates became his subordinates only when their strength was not as strong as that of senior giant mosquito. Well, it's a bit confusing for such a subordinate to actually divide the troops. Haha, fighting against a group of stars whose strongest strength is only one mid-level star? It's quite interesting. In the universe, the being known as the strongest person under Jiayan, Tianyi Alang, surrounded by 3 battleships, sailed his own battleship and flew slowly in a certain direction. In fact, the offensive in the biochemical star field is about to begin. Although the Orion Arm does not have that advanced technology, if it could not even detect the enemy coming to the border, it would have been extinct long ago. That's why Jia Yan sized up the situation and sent his 9 subordinates to 9 directions. Although there were also teams from the biochemical star territory stationed in other directions, these 9 directions were the most deadly. And these 9 directions will control the overall situation. Once the war starts, The 9 people only need to take control of these 9 directions, and then the surrounding Orion Arm civilizations and armies will retreat towards them. If the enemy wants to attack, they can only attack from them. Pass, and by then, the single-player combat power will come into play. As for the combat effectiveness of a single player, will there be any threats? I didn't hear it. So is the strongest person in the biochemical star field an ordinary mid-level star? If the subordinates Jia Yan spent so much time raising can't defeat ordinary mid-level stars, then there is no point in raising them. After all, the subordinates who possess the yin and yang dao are equivalent to possessing 2 kinds of power. Although each of them has just reached the mid-level star, their actual combat power is definitely not comparable to that of the ordinary mid-level star. So under such circumstances, the top combat power on his side completely overwhelmed the biochemical star field. Why didn't he dare to divide his troops? Even if the Orion Arm is not in danger, the destruction of some civilizations will be a great loss to the Orion Arm. And when the operation started on the Earth side, there was also movement on the other side of the biochemical star field. What? Orion still needs to struggle. Haha, I heard that the giant Mosquito clan just came back some time ago and is sending his subordinates to fight us. Hasn't the giant Mosquito clan been proven by a few adults here that it is actually a lie? The so-called giant Mosquito clan has always been just an evolved beast. And the giant Mosquito clan, and what subordinates did he bring with him? Aren't you here to die? It doesn't matter whether he is going to die or not. In short, according to his performance when he made a big fuss in our biochemical star territory a few years ago, no matter how fast he progresses, he will be considered powerful if he reaches an ordinary star level now. Our biochemical star territory, there are a lot of stellar level adults, and when they swarm up, they will definitely kill this guy easily. As for his subordinates, their strength will definitely be weaker, whether they are half-star high level or not, it doesn't matter. That's right, in that case, what are we afraid of? Let's just go ahead. The creatures in the biochemical star field feel that Jia Yan's strength is well understood. After all, they had already dealt with Jia Yan, and even the living channel chased Jia Yan all the way to the genius battlefield. Although he did not kill Jia Yan, he had already brought back the origin of Jia Yan. Although Huoku's forces did not participate in this attack, but behind every attacking civilization, there is still a certain shadow of Huoku's forces. It can be said that it is this force that is leading this war from behind. The purpose of the war may be to sincerely want to annex the Orion Arm, or to attract Jia Yan out. In short, there is a reason to live in the channel. These attacking civilizations and forces have all received the news, saying that as much territory as they can occupy in the Orion Arm, their forces will not come back. How could these small and medium-sized civilizations not flock to them? Even if some giant mosquito appears, don't they still have the power of the living channel behind them? Moreover, among the incoming forces, the third strongest civilization is almost as powerful as Huoku's force. With them acting together, other civilizations will naturally have nothing to fear. Since the Orion Arm is unwilling to surrender, and even the giant Mosquito clan dares to be extremely arrogant and divide its troops to fight against us, then it is natural for us to send troops here. Let's start tomorrow. Several forces in the biochemical star field communicated vaguely, and then agreed to start the war together the next day. The Orion Arm, in such a precarious situation, did not mobilize many troops. It's not that they are unwilling to help defend, it's not that they have completely handed over everything to the giant mosquito ancestors, but the biochemical star field has arrived too fast, and the war is about to start, but the army on the Orion Arm side, almost all of them are in their hometown. It will be absolutely impossible to go to the border to help fight for a while. So when Jia Yan's subordinates led the warships from the spiritual domain that had just arrived in the Orion Arm to their respective designated war locations, only a few sparse border guards greeted them. You don't have to charge into battle with us. When the war begins, you can just follow behind and help shoot some of the escaping biochemical star warships. On Nialang's side today, because he brought the fewest warships, when the defenders greeted him, all the senior officials felt extremely uneasy. But the words Nialang said were actually enough for them to follow behind. This, sir, you and I only have 4 battleships in total. Are you so confident? We must know that the enemy's battleships, according to our estimates, are at least 3,000, and they are from the biochemical star field. Advanced battleship, your strength seems a bit insufficient. The senior officers of the Orion Arm garrison in front of Calherd wanted to say in their hearts, how could the subordinates of senior giant Mosquito be so arrogant? Can the fleet of the biochemical star territory be hostile to just 4 battleships? It's almost ridiculous. And he was still thinking that the subordinates of the giant Mosquito ancestor were also very rude, because they came to greet him outside the interstellar space, but this subordinate actually refused to even disembark from his battleship, even if he is a strong man in the universe. But you can't be so rude, right? The Calherd did not disembark from the battleship, nor did he show much respect to the defenders of the Orion Arm. There is no other reason, because the strength gap between the two sides is really huge to some extent that cannot be explained. A star-level creature couldn't bear to see a creature that even an honorable person could not see, let alone speak, or even take a look at it. The life levels of both parties were so different that there was no way to talk. At the same time, if it weren't for Jia Yan's order, Tianialang would have ignored the group of defenders and led his subordinate warships towards the battlefield. And the top brass of the garrison are still saying that he is not strong enough? The heavenly Calherd sneered. It turned out that when he came to the Orion Arm, he was still thinking about whether the Orion Arm was extremely powerful, but what he saw these days made him know that except for a super genius like their lord, there was no one in the Orion Arm. The so-called strongest man on Earth, Jia Yan, although his name seems to be the same as his own, but since they arrived on Earth, this strong man has never appeared. Even if he appeared, he would not, knowing that this Jia Yan seems to be just a venerable or a semi-star level creature, he cannot be treated with any respect. As a result, he changed his feelings about the Orion Arm from being extremely respectful to it, and now he doesn't care about it that much. In addition to a huge light curtain, this star field feels like a land of indigenous people living. Even because of the existence of the light curtain, this star field is too backward. Compared with the outside world, life and convenience are inferior. A lot, although as the adults said, it is a very good choice as his hometown and base, but it would be unsightly if he fell too far behind. He was even thinking about whether to find some alien technology in the future to make the Orion Arm more developed. At least it can improve the standard of living. But those are things in the future. The first thing to do now is to fight this war well. Just watch. The heavenly Calherd released a trace of coercion, and the astonishing momentum instantly solidified the entire starry sky. Scary. The senior guard who had reached the high level of the heavenly level only felt that before his eyes, the strength of the subordinates of the giant Mosquito ancestor was actually reached, a feeling as deep as the sea, allowing him to easily know that if the other party wanted to kill him, he would not even have to think about it. The moment the thought arose, he would be dead. This terrifying display of strength immediately let the senior guard know how powerful this subordinate of the so-called ancestor of the giant Mosquito clan was. And if such a subordinate is so amazing, how amazing will the giant Mosquito ancestor be? Thinking of this, the senior guard almost got goosebumps. He vaguely understood that the giant Mosquito ancestor's profession was not about arrogance, but self-confidence, which truly came from self-confidence in strength. Sir, we will do as you say. Now it's right. Tian Nialang praised him, and then led the 3 lonely warships around him to fly towards the direction where the biochemical starfield army was about to arrive. The Orion Arm garrison behind them numbered about 1,000 battleships. After some hesitation, they still had the courage to follow. And similar scenes were happening in 9 directions. Finally, the first confrontation began. But this confrontation was not with the cowherd who thought he was the fastest. But at the other end, Luo Longxi came out on top. It wasn't that she was more proactive, but that she happened to choose a direction with a smoother star road, so she rushed faster and arrived at the border where the confrontation was about to take place. Haha, defenders of the Orion Arm, don't you have some help from the giant Mosquito clan? Now, you are about to die, so why haven't the helpers come yet? That's right, the giant Mosquito clan, you Orion Arms have all been brainwashed, you are just a bunch of fools. Die. Even if your giant Mosquito friends die, they will go down and accompany you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1589. In the starry sky, pieces of flames were rising. These flames were the explosions of Orion Arm garrison ships. They exploded extremely brightly, seeming to be wailing about the impossibility and difficulty of this mission. After all, the strength of the two sides is so different that it is impossible to even get closer. The technology and powerhouses of the biochemical starfield are far superior to those of the Orion Arm. Even ordinary soldiers are much stronger than the soldiers of the Orion Arm. The strength of an ordinary biochemical starfield soldier is equivalent to the strength of the leader of the team within the Orion Arm, or a higher level. In comparison, the levels of both sides are clear at a glance. There is no possibility of tit for tat, it will only be the biochemical star. Unilateral crushing by the domain side. It's over, we can't defeat it at all. With this kind of comparison in strength, we will only die. Escape? But where can we escape? Their warships are faster than ours and they have more powerful men than us. There is no way to escape. Dead, haha, we are all going to die. We thought that with the help of Mr. Jia Yan in our Orion Arm and the help of the giant Mosquito clan, we could fight against the biochemical star territory. However, the result is that our strength is so far behind. A group of senior officers and ordinary soldiers of the Orion Arm and Border Fleet were wailing. A group of their warships had been destroyed, and even some high-ranking officers had died. They were all complaining, not only about the Orion Arm's weak combat power, but also about Master Jia Yan, and also about the giant Mosquito clan. They said they would protect the Orion Arm, but what about now? Their Orion Arm fleet was being unilaterally crushed and massacred by the enemy, but where were these people? Just when this group of border fleets had lost any fighting spirit to resist, a stream of light, with a radiance, came to the center of the battlefield. What? Whatever, the attack is probably something like the Orion Arm, but even if it is any means, such a weak starfield, what means can it come up with? Just attack and destroy it? The law of the strong in the universe is that no matter what means the weak have, it is impossible to break through the distance in strength. Especially the existence of the strong is almost insurmountable to weak creatures or civilizations. The same is true now. The arrival of this stream of light made the other side of the biochemical starfield slightly startled, but they continued to attack without any doubts. It's just that the stream of light came faster, and they were more vigilant and fired the attack energy directly towards the stream of light. After all, it was better to kill something that was dangerous first. But a shocking scene happened. A group of biochemical starfield battleships attacked, and when they approached the flying stream of light, they seemed to have reached an extremely stagnant area, and time seemed to have stopped slightly. Then those attacking rays of light turned directly into a ball of void energy in this stagnant area, unable to affect the creatures inside the streamer at all. And then, the creature in the stream of light revealed its true face. Inside was a huge leafy creature. The body of this creature looks like a female earthling that has been enlarged an unknown number of times, but her body is covered with green leaves and branches, just like an earthling that has given birth to branches. The strength of this creature is of course extremely powerful. It is many times stronger than people on Earth. The female creature suddenly put down the finger she had just waved. It seemed that the defensive force that had just blocked all the salvos of the biochemical starfleet was something created by this finger. Looking at the devastated Orion Arm battleship behind her, she frowned slightly. Because what the Lord asked her to do was to assist the Orion Arm fleet to fully counterattack these incoming biochemical star domain invaders. But now before she arrived, the Orion Arm defenders were attacked by an unprecedented force. Loss, does this count as disobeying your orders? This thought made the rescued female creature feel extremely dull on her face, especially since she also knew that her competitors were 8 of the adult's subordinates, and the strength of those 8 people was similar to hers. This is. What a huge creature. It's several kilometers long. Is she a creature with the Orion Arm? How powerful is she who can block all the salvos of our fleet? Could it be that the Orion Arm actually hides such a strong person besides Jia Yan? Unbelievable sounds erupted from the fleet on the other side of the biochemical star field. And similar sounds were heard in the Orion Arm fleet group at this end. This fleet was the first to encounter the fleet of the biochemical star field, and when they fought with it, there was actually a huge mistake, that is, their communications were not as developed as those of the Orion Arm defenders in other aspects, or in other words, due to some minor mistakes, they did not receive information about the enemy's situation and that the giant Mosquito clan would send strong men to assist. Therefore, they were caught off guard and encountered the biochemical starfield human invasion fleet in front of them, and even suffered unprecedented losses. Quick, we must have missed some news from the Alliance. Turn on the super long-distance communication for me. Sir, we don't have any news at all. What are you doing? In the eyes of the senior management of the Orion Arm, the terrifying giant creature that appeared is definitely related to the Orion Arm Alliance, and its performance is to help his side, so this is definitely related to the Orion Arm Alliance. He wants to communicate quickly so that you can know the origin of this person and what you need to do. In fact, the news had already been in their communicators, but the officers and soldiers in charge did not turn on the ultra-long-distance communication. After turning on the news, a group of Orion Arm executives were suddenly stunned. The biochemical star territory is attacking again, and is it a common attack from many civilizations with separate armies? Well, it happened that the ancestor of the giant Mosquito clan also came to Earth to visit, so this unprecedentedly powerful ancestor sent 9 of his subordinates to the invasion points of the 9 main enemies of the Orion Arm. To meet the enemy, we are at the place where one of the adults is rushing to help. Enemy attack. The ancestor of the giant Mosquito clan? Ancestor's subordinate? After reading all the news, the senior executive was astonished by the continuous new news. They thought that what they encountered was a small-scale raid in the biochemical star territory, but now they saw that it should be one of the leading troops in the biochemical star territory. No wonder they lost so cleanly. And this one is actually a subordinate of the so-called ancestor of the giant Mosquito? A subordinate is so amazing, so what kind of style will the senior ancestor of the giant Mosquito be like? This senior executive and several other senior executives who read the news with him were all dumbfounded. And what happened next that stunned them was just beginning. I saw a green leaf protecting female creature pointing out lightly at the place where it was confronting the biochemical starfleet. A shocking force exploded from her fingers. In front of the creature's eyes, a biochemical starfleet formed a cluster to pursue the Orion Arm's warships. And this kind of cluster makes it easy for them to be instantly hit by his attack and suffer heavy losses when they face a powerful person with shocking strength. I saw a swarm of battleships in the air, which were clearly hundreds of kilometers away from the green leaf female creature, but at the finger of this female creature, a series of chain explosions actually broke out. The shocking explosion that suddenly bloomed in this universe was countless times more terrifying than the previous explosion of a group of warships on the Orion Arm. The battleships in the biochemical star field are more advanced, and their recommended engines and energy sources are larger, so their explosions are more brilliant. This, leave quickly, this person is scary. It's at least a star-level creature. It's hundreds of kilometers away. It can destroy so many of our warships with just one brainwave power. The Orion Arm actually found such a terrifying helper. Run away. With our strength, there is no way we can be the opponent of a stellar powerhouse. Run, run, run. The biochemical starfield fleet group that was so arrogant just now is like a bereaved dog, flying away one by one and trying to retreat. But now that Luo Longxi is here, how can these warships be allowed to leave? She had made a mistake before and did not catch up with the defenders at Orion Arm before they suffered heavy losses. This already made her feel that she was going to lose a lot in front of Jia Yan. At this time, she was already a little angry. It feels like it is absolutely impossible to let go of the ant-like fleet in front of you. Then, the Orion Arm battleship group at the rear just stared with their mouths agape. In their eyes, an unparalleled strong man easily killed the biochemical starfield fleet that had just killed the Orion Arm battleship. One battleship after another, whether they want to escape or turn around to fight, in short, there is not even the slightest possibility of resistance in front of this existence. The shell of a general warship is difficult to break through for a semi-star level being. The most effective way to kill is to use brainwave power to concuss and kill the people inside the warship. But this plan was not adopted by Luo Longxi. She just used the power of her brainwaves, coupled with the green leaves of her body, to pierce the warships that were close to her, or the warships that were overtaken by her. She would pierce them with her green leaves. Among them, with a sudden stir, there are almost no living creatures left. The shell of a battleship? For a star-level creature, this is nothing, and star-level creatures are essentially different from ordinary creatures. As long as their combat power is not depleted too much, it is things that can be quickly restored, such as attacking a battleship. For stellar-level creatures, the lost power may not be replenished as quickly as it can be quickly replenished. That's why Luo Longxi is so violent. No, it's definitely a star level, and it may not even be an ordinary star level. Let's run away and report back the news. This Orion Arm is backed by a star level. We want the army behind to be careful. Just when they were about to take action, a battleship that sent back the news of Luo Longxi's appearance was completely killed by a green leaf. For a strong mid-level star, killing a group of ordinary battleships is effortless. Even Relancy almost wanted to take a nap while doing this, and she was not thinking about how to destroy the enemy at all, but thinking about how to restore his image in the eyes of Master Jia Yan if his affairs were not handled well. This, so fast. Hey, another battleship is coming from behind. It's not from our Orion Arm. It seems to be more advanced than the battleships in the biochemical star territory. They are chasing the defeated soldiers in the biochemical star territory. They are the fleets of the ancestors of the giant Mosquito. While the Orion Arm fleet was still staring blankly, a relatively small fleet group flew past them quickly, and then came to the place where the war started, chasing a group of escaping biochemical starfield fleets. Kill. Their technological level is obviously higher than that of the battleships in the biochemical starfield, and may even be much higher. Although these battleships are extremely basic battleships in the Divine Realm, because the Divine Realm is a place of 4 battles and needs to deal with many powerful races and civilizations in the universe, their battleship technology and actual combat capabilities are far inferior to those of the biochemical star. The domain is much stronger, otherwise it would be impossible to deal with so many cosmic civilizations and powerful people. Therefore, when chasing and killing, even if the number is only a few dozen, it is still like chasing a drowned dog, and almost one hit is accurate. In addition, the biochemical star territory had been beaten by Luo-Longxi for a long time and had no idea of resistance at all, so these dozens of spirit domain battleships actually killed everyone. Let's hurry up and get some credit. The battleships on the Orion Arm could see that this war would be easily won with the help of the giant Mosquito ancestor, so they all thought slightly, since they had already lost so much, there are so many battleships. They don't want to bear the infamy of defeat, so now they have no choice but to go up. And playing at this time, the risk should not be too great. So after the senior officials shouted, the Orion Arm battleship group also moved. Even if about half of them were killed by the biochemical starfield fleet, the remaining half still had more than 1,000 ships, and the attack power of the concentrated fire was also considerable. Rays of light shot out in the starry sky, making the battle even more exciting. It's just that the loser of this war, with the help of a top powerhouse and dozens of high-end warships, suddenly changed the situation and completely fell to the side of the Orion Arm. Not only in the area that Luo-Longxi was responsible for, but also in 8 other places, similar dramas were playing out at almost the same moment. With the help of the 9 mid-level creatures from the stars, the Orion Arm, which was originally in danger, actually completely resisted the enemy in this war that was originally thought to be destroyed. Even the enemy's initial defense, that is, most of the Orion Arm's top brass, who were ready to give up, failed to break through the first level of defense. The Orion Arm was a big win all around. I read all the comments, but I just didn't reply. I don't know what to reply to, haha. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1590. What do you call winning? Follow us and attack the biochemical star territory. This is not the first time that this biochemical star territory has attacked your Orion Arm, right? Since they dare to fight, they must bear the price of being counterattacked. When Luo-Longxi and other experts, near the border of the Orion Arm star territory, directly killed the invading biochemical star territory fleet group one by one, they felt more and more dissatisfied with the biochemical star territory in their hearts. The more disdainful. A starfield of this strength actually dares to attack your home starfield. It is a disgrace to you. If we don't help you invade his starfield, we are simply not worthy of being your subordinates. Jia Yan's subordinates were all filled with indignation at what happened to the Orion Arm. If they didn't know better, they would have thought they were the losers. Since this biochemical starfield dares to invade the Lord's home starfield, then they must accept the Lord's wrath. Although Jia Yan didn't say it, these subordinates had already understood what Jia Yan meant, which was to give the biochemical starfield a taste. So after the enemies that would invade in the future were all pushed back to the biochemical star territory, the subordinates of Jia Yan's team were all ready to invade the biochemical star territory. The fleets in the biochemical star field on the other side have not thought about this possibility at all. The weak Orion Arm dares to invade their biochemical star field? This possibility is like a joke to the civilization that considers itself powerful in the biochemical star territory. Even if the Orion Arm has several extremely terrifying strong men, they are not willing to believe this possibility. These strong men are powerful, but they do not think that these strong men can reach the advanced level of the primary level of stars. In other words, they will definitely not be strong men in the stellar level. In the biochemical star field, there is not only an extremely powerful primary level star, but also a creature that has reached the intermediate level star. These 8 guys who look suspiciously like stars only look like stars. How can they dare to invade a star field where there must be intermediate stars? But what they didn't want to believe happened just before their eyes. The Orion Arm changed its previous defensive state and unexpectedly launched a sudden attack in the direction of the biochemical star territory, led by the strong men of the 8 great Jia Yan team. This is simply eye-popping. And more importantly, the army they led was actually just the defenders at the Orion Arm border. Because things developed so fast, the Orion army that came to support the border army from behind never came, so they were left without manpower. Under such circumstances, these 8 powerful men had no choice but to lead the defenders. The number of people and warships was extremely small, and under extremely difficult circumstances, they launched an attack on the biochemical star field. This is impossible. Those weaklings from the Orion arm actually dare to attack our biochemical star field. How dare they? But not only did they dare, but they actually invaded. Under the leadership of several suspected stellar-level beings, they actually captured an inhabited planet. However, they did not have many manpower and could not control the planet at all, so after a lot of searching, they came towards our hinterland. Ah, isn't this civilization my civilization? Come on, gentlemen, please send troops to help my hometown, otherwise my hometown will definitely suffer unprecedented losses. A group of senior executives from the biochemical star domain were discussing matters within the assembled fleet group. In front of them was the blueprint for the Orion arm's counter-attack fleet. And the place where they are now is already 10 light-years away from the biochemical star field on the border between the two sides. The Orion arm counter-attack army on this side actually broke into within 10 light-years of the biochemical star territory in less than a month. Although they were only a partial force and could not occupy the territory of the biochemical star territory on a large scale, some of the galaxies in their past were always devastated, just like what happened in the biochemical star territory within the Orion arm. Fortunately, the advantage of the Orion arm compared to the biochemical star territory is that they did not directly carry out massacres. Compared with the large-scale massacre in the Orion arm back then, it was already much better. What should we do now? Ask several major civilizations to help us. It seems a bit bad to ask them to take action now. When we carried out the invasion of the Orion arm, many civilizations were actually against us. What can we do without asking? As you can see, the Orion arm supporters who are coming are basically stellar level strength. Even if we don't want to admit it, we don't have anyone here who can deal with them. Please don't ask for any star level supporters. If the civilization and power of the strong take action, it is absolutely impossible for us to stop them on our own. Then we, It seems that a communication has arrived. Great, many adults from the 6th largest civilization in the biochemical star territory have already come towards us and met the invading Orion arm. The fleet has gone. Master Duos is a star-level existence. With his action, he will definitely be able to easily kill the incoming intruders, and the territory we lost can be recovered. Definitely, many adults are not among the weakest among the primary level stars. Although the invading star-level creatures are not necessarily the weakest, if the two star-level powers are if both sides are equal, and they don't want to get hurt, there will definitely be a truce, and they will also retreat to the Orion arm. That's right, let's just wait for the good news. When the subordinates of Jia Yan's team brazenly invaded the biochemical star territory for about a month, the real high-level officials and powerful forces in the biochemical star territory could no longer sit still. If these partial masters like the Orion arm continue to cause trouble in the biochemical star territory, the influence and reputation of the biochemical star territory in the surrounding area will be completely lost, and may even cause the biggest enemy around the biochemical star territory, which is the star field known as the Empire, is about to launch another century-old war against them. The Orion arm's counterattack, and even its counterattack into the biochemical star field, caused a lot of losses and destruction, but no one really paid attention to it. Because they all know that this is only the work of the 8 powerful men in the Orion arm. If these 8 powerful men are left aside, with the battleships and manpower of the Orion arm alone, let alone counterattack into the biochemical star field, they can killing the ordinary people on the biochemical star field planet that has not been breached is not bad. After all, the strength of the ordinary soldiers of the Orion arm is simply too weak to be seen. This also leads to the partial soldiers like the Orion arm to attack the planets in the biochemical star field did not dare to rule or do anything else. Instead, they were frightened by the star-level master and robbed them and left. Humph, you have done enough with the Orion arms. Stop now. Oh. Stop guys, when the Orion arm asked you to stop, did you stop? In a place in the starry sky, the huge long-horned monster faced off against an approaching monster that looked like a huge black bear. And I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but at the same moment, 3 of the 8 fleets that came to the biochemical star territory were blocked by 3 star-level powerhouses. The Orion arm was weak before, and it was incredibly weak. Being ruled by our biochemical star field will only make the Orion arm better and better. The person standing in front of the heavenly cowherd was a biochemical star field being named Duoze. His strength was at the primary level of a star. Although he was not a newly promoted primary star, his strength was at the star level, at most. It can be regarded as an ordinary thing, so his tone was not too arrogant. But what he stated also made DT and cowherd sneer. Haha, a weak person must be ruled. Well, if you think you are a strong person, let me see if your so-called strong person is really strong or a useless weakling. The heavenly cowherd didn't give the other party a chance to speak at all. He directly used his brainwave power to strike at the interceptor, who seemed to think he could talk to the heavenly cowherd on an equal footing. Your Excellency, you are actually unwilling to talk properly. We are both stars, ah. What? The intercepting star-level being was just about to calmly block the attack of the cowherd, but his eyes suddenly widened. Because he felt that Tianyi Alang's attacking ability was simply terrifying beyond his imagination. This level is no longer a slight strength gap in the ordinary sense. It is simply like the gap between a primary star and a star and a half. In other words, the invading Orion arm creature was far beyond his expectation. It was not an elementary level stellar creature at all, but stellar mid-level. Ah. Sir, Senior, please spare my life. I don't know that you are an intermediate star. This first-level star, who was worshipped by countless powerful people in the biochemical star field, at this moment, actually acted like a weak junior, attacking the invader who blasted the energy, that is, they the cowherd, who had always thought that there was an ordinary star-level creature in Orion's arm, begged for mercy. But will the cowherd let him go? This was the first time he faced off against a stellar star. Tianyi Alang felt that he had to take credit from Lord Jiayan. How could he let go of such a huge achievement so easily? As for killing a biochemical starfield star, will he be chased by the other party? Ha! The strongest person in this biochemical star field is only an intermediate star. Let alone fighting with their 8 subordinates of Jia Yan's team, even if Tianyi Alang encounters him alone, he will have to fight to know who is strong and who is weak. Would the heavenly cowherd be afraid of being chased by such a star field? Just a joke. Are you begging for mercy? Since you have offended a being who is stronger than you, then just die. Isn't this your theory of the weak? Puff. In the sky, the star-level creature named Duos, who was admired by countless people and beings in the biochemical star field, died without any resistance at all. Ah! The subordinate of the ancestor of the giant mosquito that we have been following, are actually such a terrifying existence. Even a powerful person from the biochemical star field of the same star level can be killed with one blow. How strong is this lord? Even if he is so terrifying, then what level will the giant mosquito ancestor who stands behind this lord, who is definitely more terrifying, reach? My god, what kind of backer our Orion arm relies on is simply beyond our imagination. Haha, why are you surprised? In short, these extremely powerful adults are the backers of our Orion arm. We don't need to be afraid. Since there are such adults here, what should we be afraid of? Let us be in the biochemical star field now. Let's do well. Avenge our Orion arm compatriots. Just like Tianyi Alang's side, not one of the other 3 star-level experts from the biochemical star field who came to intercept escaped, and were completely killed directly by the members of Jia Yan's team. For them, not to mention that these blockers are no match for them. Even if there are backgrounds behind them that they cannot afford to offend, they will never be afraid. Because behind them, there is Master Jia Yan. We are destined not to stay in this biochemical star field for long. The main problem is supply. So you can do whatever you want in the occupied area, as long as there is no massacre and make Lord Jia Yan unhappy. Several major armies that entered the biochemical star field began to act more unscrupulously. And inside the biochemical star territory, we heard that the 4 major biochemical star territory star-level powerhouses even occupy a full quarter of the current star-level powerful creatures in the biochemical star territory. After the First World War, when one after another was killed by the absolutely powerful ones who came, the entire star field felt as if someone had suddenly strangled their necks, and each and every one of them could no longer speak. What is the strength of this group of invading Orion armed creatures? Even when 4 star-level beings attacked, not even one of them could escape. Biochemical star territory. For a time, the entire star territory lost its voice, and even became a little subdued. No matter what the war is like, Jia Yan on this side of the earth doesn't care at all. For him, the biochemical star field is no longer a place he considers. His strength has long transcended the star realm where there are no galaxy-level existences, and he can easily kill even the so-called strongest in this star realm. As for his group of subordinates, he also believed that they would definitely have crushing strength against the strong men in the biochemical star territory. If they were unable to do so, Jia Yan would feel that it was his loss to accompany them. And the brain show is funny. So he doesn't care about the war outside at all, he only thinks about what to do in the precious time on this earth. Oh, forget it, let's go home and have a look. I haven't been back for a long time. Finally, after controlling the battle in the biochemical star territory for a long time, the anxious Jia Yan finally made such a decision. In fact, after not going home for many years, for Jia Yan, the feeling of being close to home is growing in his heart again, even though he is now an Orion who can easily kill the Earth, and is even countless times larger than the Earth. Arms are all beings that can be easily wiped out by simply telling them to kill them. But for his hometown, a family that might not even be able to resist him with a look, he felt a lot of pressure. This is some unique pressure between family members. No matter how strong you are, you will still have such pressure. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1591. As the well-known giant mosquito, it is impossible for Jia Yan to use his huge giant mosquito to go to the Earth, and even if he went, a person would be bigger than the return city, so what's the point? Going back, basically, it's almost the same size as a city. This may also be one of the costs of becoming stronger. So he still resorted to old methods. That is to use your own clone. When I go back this time, I'll send a new clone I just got from Taya Kingdom there. Jia Yan knew that although his clones had similar technological content, each time they were newly condensed, there was a gap in strength between the clones because the brainwave power used at the moment of condensation was different. The newly condensed avatar this time has reached the threshold of star level. In other words, with this avatar in charge, even if an ordinary star-level creature comes, the Earth will not be destroyed. Crisis. Using this new clone to go to Earth, there is no risk of being shocked by others, because the size of the clone is the same as that of the people on Earth, and it is the appearance of the original Jia Yan. This clone just needs to replace the original one. That clone is no longer strong enough to control the Earth. In the starry sky, an extremely small figure was flying in the stars. If you look carefully, you can see that this is a young man who looks like a human being. He is Jia Yan, who uses the power of brain waves to control his clone through certain quantum energy. It had been a long time since he had felt such a small physical sensation, and Jia Yan still felt a little strange. Flying in the universe, It was easy to cover a distance, but it took him a lot of time to slowly fly to the Earth. Detection instruments on the Earth, etc. As long as Jia Yan is not willing, it is impossible to detect his whereabouts. This time he does not want the detection instruments on the Earth to discover his existence, so he uses the invisible brainwaves power. To put it bluntly, means that your body is completely enveloped by the power of brainwaves in the atmosphere or space, so let alone being seen, even the heat value data is difficult for the outside world to see. Returning to the city has really changed a lot. Jia Yan flew in the air, silently looking at the city below. This is the city of return. The small mountain village back then has now transformed into a big city scene, with the Jia family as the center point, radiating out in all directions. On the surface, the Jia family does not appear in the official power data, but in fact it is a family with a relatively strong say on the Earth. In other words, the Jia family can manage most things on the Earth, and because of its status getting higher and higher, it turns out that many ordinary people don't know much about the Jia family, but now everyone knows that this mysterious family is the most important center of power among people on Earth. Of course, the Jia family did not pursue control in all aspects as soon as they had status, as in many legends. Instead, they did what they should do according to their status, and in the end they did not take credit, because taking credit is not good for today's people. For the Jia family, it no longer makes any sense. Whatever they want, let alone the Earth, even the Orion arm will try to satisfy them. When Jia Yan came to the compound where the Jia family lived, someone suddenly felt his presence in a house with strength. Although this has something to do with Jia Yan not being invisible on purpose, the person who was the first to discover his existence is also extremely powerful. Oh, this kid has made great progress. Jia Yan was in the sky, silently looking at this strong man who felt his presence, and seemed a little surprised by his strength. However, as the strong man sensed his arrival, one by one of the Jia family or the protective forces in the Jia family all felt the careless coming of this creature. A flying strongman? This is. Although strong men who can fly are no longer as amazing as they used to be on Earth, it is a bit amazing that they can fly in the air and have not been discovered by strong men from the outside or by detection instruments before even appearing here. Therefore, one by one of the Jia family, as well as the beings who were the protectors of the Jia family, were all a little wary of this coming strong man at this moment. But when they flew out one by one and saw the face of the coming person, they were all shocked, and then some of them became extremely happy. Lord Jia Yan. An earthling who seemed a bit familiar flew up from the ground and flew in front of Jia Yan. Jia Yan seemed to remember a little bit about this person. He was his clone back then, a guard who wanted to join the Jia family's guard team. After so many years, his strength seems to have broken through to the heaven level, and this heaven level is not an ordinary heaven level at all, but an intermediate and high-level heaven level. It seems that he can break through to the high heaven level at any time. Well, it's good that you are vigilant. Fortunately. Jia Yan nodded lightly, and then flew straight down to Jia's house. Sir, could he be fake? Behind the guard, a guard who looked like a newcomer said something worried to the guard recruiter who had participated in the guard together with Jia Yan. Oh, he is Master Jia Yan. I know his aura. Even if he is not, do you think we can stop him with the strength he has shown? Of course, if we find that he is not, we will fight to the death to protect the Jia family. Adults, do you know? Yes. All the guards seem to respect this guard very much. It's good. The strength and quality of our Jia family's guards have improved. There are also several Orion Arm executives who have reached extremely strong levels near the Jia family. As Jia Yan flew all the way, he felt that there were more than just these superficial guards in Jia's family. At least half of the power is still faintly surrounding Jia Yan. He didn't feel that he was being disrespected, but nodded slightly. This is the protective strength that a big family should have. Among these powerful people, there is actually a venerable who has reached half a step, almost reaching the peak of Orion's strength. But of course, His Holiness should be nothing to the assassins who really want to kill the Geo family. In this Geo family, we have always known that the real reliance of the Geo family is that there are no outside forces and hostile presence. The reason why I dare to come here to make up my mind is precisely Jia Yan, or the existence of his clone that has been rumored to be on the earth, but no one has ever found it. It's just that others don't know that the original clone is flying silently at this moment, flying back towards Jia Yan's battleship. In the future, this new flying clone will replace the original clone and become the world and the Geo family's patron saint. Brother, you're back. It's been so many years since you left, and we don't even know if you're dead or alive. Xiaolin, why are you talking to your brother? Come on, let mom take a look. Xiao Yan, you seem to have lost a little weight. When Jia Yan returned to the grassland of Jia's family, everyone in Jia's family had already heard the news of Jia Yan's return one by one and went out to greet him. Although several children have gone to school, Jia Yan is still very happy to see so many familiar faces. Especially the two parents, not only have they not gotten older after so many years, but they even seem to have reversed their growth. Not only have their strength improved, they look like they are in their 20s at first glance, and their lifespan has also increased. At least dozens of times, there will definitely be more days to be together in the future. The last time he glanced at the earth with the giant mosquito, he didn't pay much attention to the people at home. But this time, Jia Yan was startled and found a strange figure among his family. He looked at Jia Yan awkwardly. Rock. This man seemed to have some impression, but also seemed not to have any impression. Xiao Yan, don't you know? This is Kikai's husband. He has been following Kikai to fight in various places. Now the two little sweethearts are together, which is what we want to see. When he saw Jia Yan looking at the only unfamiliar person in the crowd, Jia's mother happily introduced Jia Yan. Xiao Qi's husband, is she married? Jia Yan was startled, and there was a burst of weirdness and emotion in his heart. The girl who had always played with me and acted like a brat all the way back then, my doting niece, actually got married. Jia Yan didn't know what his state of mind was, but it was weird anyway. I've met Mr. Jia Yan. Jia Qi's husband looked very young, but when facing Jia Yan, he felt a little reserved and even didn't know how to speak and act. After all, this is the most legendary figure in the history of the earth, and it is also a living myth on the entire earth. Such an astonishing existence actually met in a private scene. Although he had known that this was possible, but it really came to this despite this situation, he was still extremely fearful and frightened. Well, you're very good. Zioki will be left to you from now on. Yes, Lord Jia Yan. It felt like this little guy was so reserved about him that Jia Yan didn't care about him. Although he didn't see anything good about this guy, since Jia Qi picked him, he must have some special qualities. Aren't Zioki and the others at home? Dad, Mom, let's not stand outside. Go inside and sit down to talk. Jia Yan smiled. In fact, when the family first saw Jia Yan, although he was not considered an elder, he was definitely the highest ranking person in the family. In addition, he had disappeared for so many years, and even Jia's parents were a little uncomfortable with it. But now Jia Yan suddenly when Zi said friendly words, everyone's atmosphere and feelings returned to the original impression. They are family to begin with, except for the few younger ones, almost all of them are good friends with Jia Yan. Is this Xiaoruo? You've grown up, do you still remember your uncle? A little girl who looked very similar to Jia Qi when she was a teenager looked at Jia Yan, which immediately made Jia Yan regain the feeling he had when he looked at Xiao Qi. Now that the older girl has a family, she will definitely not feel the same as before, so Jia Yan has no choice but to find the feeling of being an uncle from the younger Xiaoruo. Well, I'm Xiaoruo. I still remember my uncle. That little girl looks as beautiful as Jia did back then. Although the Jia family's family members are only average in appearance, after Jia Lin married the man with glasses, the children she gave birth to were all top beauties. I don't know why. It's not a matter of the Jia family's genes being highly compatible with others. Just remember, uncle will give you a little greeting gift later. It's been a long time since we last met. Jia Yan smiled slightly. Although he didn't bring anything, for a person with his current strength, it's almost easy to give someone a greeting gift, whether it's to help improve their strength, or some other rare thing. In short, it's easy to get it. Others are satisfied. Thank you, uncle. Jiaruo is no longer the runny-nosed little girl she used to be. Of course, she knows that her uncle, who has great magical powers and can even defeat the strongest players in the biochemical star field, is a living legend. What he takes out is absolutely it was excellent, and I was extremely happy at the moment. Uncle, I want it too. When Jiaruo finished speaking, a sound of approaching wind, fire, and fire came from the sky outside. Before others could recover, a lightning-like figure descended from the sky to the house where the Jia family was. The person who came was a woman who seemed to be in her early 20s. Her temperament and appearance were extremely outstanding. At first glance, she was a woman who combined beauty and ability. She is the junior that Jia Yan originally valued most, his sister's eldest daughter Jia. Oh! Zioki, you have become a mother. You can or ask for gifts from your uncle, and you are not afraid of the children seeing it. Jia Yan made fun of Jia who came here. Which department should Jia be working in? When she heard the news of Jia Yan's return, she flew all the way back. Haha, uncle, no matter how much you tease me, I want it. Uncle, you can't be partial. Not only do I want it, but my son also wants it. I wonder if uncle will give it to me. Jia picked up a small child in her arms, who was her son. How can you be such a mother? Haha, what's the name of this child? Jia Yan rolled his eyes at her angrily, and then looked at the little boy with pink makeup in her arms. The child is about a little over 1 year old, but he looks just like Jia when he was a child, very cute. My uncle is asking you what his name is. Jia turned the topic to the child in her arms. Uncle, my name is Jia Bin. Hello, uncle, the child replied timidly. Uncle, this child has been bullied by us since he was a child. If he doesn't obey, he will kneel down on you. That's why he is so afraid of you. Jia Yan talked unhappily with the newcomer Jia and the juniors, and everyone's relationship quickly became harmonious. But not long after, he looked out the door of the house with a sigh. It turned out that not far away, a slim and stalwart figure, although young but slowly growing, walked towards the house. Jia Yan, you're finally back. So today, I'm going to challenge you. That's right, Dad, I'm going to challenge you. Ignoring the pull of the woman beside him, the young figure walked in silence, making a loud noise with his strength, and spoke provocatively to Jia Yan. But his shocking sound, in Jia Yan's helpless eyes, directly enveloped this small area, as if suppressed by an invisible hand, and could not be conveyed to the outside world at all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1592. Huh? What a wonderful application of brainwave power. The child who came suddenly saw that his huge voice, which could shake the power of the entire Return City, was instantly suppressed by that Jia Yan, and he knew that the person in front of him was indeed worthy of his reputation. But he still has confidence in himself. Isn't it just that the brainwave power skills are good? Those powerful teachers from aliens have said that strength is everything in the universe. Of course, there is definitely a gap between his own strength and this figure who can single-handedly suppress the entire Orion arm, but he doesn't really want to fight with strength. Xiaorong, come on, meet your dad, let's go have dinner together later. When Jia's parents saw the approaching child, they quickly glanced at him and came over happily to greet him. In the Jia family, the status of this child and the beautiful woman next to him is very awkward. That is, although they call themselves the Jia family, the so-called father of the child has not officially recognized his identity until now. Well. Jia Kai on the side let out a long sigh. The person who came was none other than Jia Yan's nominal son, Jia Rong. And the extremely beautiful woman next to him, which could even be said to be overly perfect, was Satsumadori. In the days when Jia Yan was away, it was normal for mother and son to remain silent in Jia's house, and everyone's occasional estrangements would be overcome. But now that Jia Yan is back, everyone who knows Jia Rong's temper has returned. Come on, this little guy is probably not up to anything good. Sure enough, after calling grandma, Jia Rong bypassed Jia Mu and came to Jia Yan. This boy's current strength is about the level of a venerable. As a person who can silently develop this kind of strength without any danger on a peaceful planet, his talent is what Jia Yan has experienced over the years. Except for the most powerful one. Jia Yan also knows where this talent comes from. It should be from his own genes. Facing the coming child, Jia Yan just looked at him indifferently. This boy is the same height as Jia Yan, and his appearance is not as outstanding as that of the younger generations of the Jia family today. He is just a relatively ordinary-looking boy of 16 or 17. Of course, in fact, Jia Rong is already about 20 years old. Due to strength and genetic problems, he looks like a child who has not yet fully developed. Jia Yan, I want to challenge you. With your venerable level strength, do you dare? Jia Rong only felt that his hard work for so many years was about to be realized at this moment. His long-standing wish was to defeat his father in front of everyone, and then force him to acknowledge his mother. As for himself, it doesn't matter whether he is his son or not. Challenge me, tell me your reasons. Jia Yan smiled, neither panicking nor thinking that his son would do anything wrong by challenging him. In fact, he still feels a bit strangely disharmonious about his son and the appearance of his cheap wife. Because he has done nothing, he feels really depressed when he has an extra wife and son. Reason? There is no reason. I am better than you. This is my reason. Jia Rong gritted his teeth. He imagined what kind of mentality he would have when such a day came, maybe it was extremely calm, or maybe it was a feeling of revenge. But actually now, he felt that he was a little panicked. It wasn't Jia Yan who was panicked, but he was panicked. He has wanted to do this for many years. Perhaps since he was young, he has been thinking about dealing with his dad, because although his mother does not look that sad or even expressionless, but the son knew that every night, his mother would look at the starry sky above her head alone, feeling sad. So in order to make his mother feel better, or to get justice for his mother, he practiced extremely hard. Because he knew that his talent seemed to be extremely good, and his identity seemed to be different from that of ordinary earthlings. In addition to being Jia Yan's son, he seemed to have some other talents. In short, he has succeeded now. Some time ago, he flew outside the universe and broke through to the strength he dreamed of, the supreme level. Even based on his own sense of strength, this master class possesses extremely terrifying ability to kill enemies by jumping up to the next level. I happened to know that Jia Yan was coming out of the mountain, so the idea of defeating Jia Yan's father finally burst out. I definitely have a chance of winning. I just want to explain that with the Venerable's junior strength, his strength must have improved a little after so many years. But with his status and identity, if I say that he fights with the Venerable's junior strength, I will agree, and this won't be the first time I challenge him. If I win, it's okay. If I lose, I can just study his fighting style next time and continue to challenge him. With my talent, I can always one day to catch up with him. Jiarong is extremely serious about his plans. Even if he loses this time, he believes that he can clearly see Jia Yan's strength and fighting style. If he studies carefully in the future, there will always be a chance to defeat him. After all, in his opinion, his talent is absolutely astounding, especially after coming into contact with alien civilizations, and he also read a lot of alien information, knowing that his talent, even if placed on a more powerful one, in civilization, it is extremely rare to see people who are even at the level of super geniuses, so he still feels absolutely sure whether he can catch up with Jia Yan. Oh? Are you stronger than me? Haha, okay, you attack. Jia Yan shook his head. If it was the previous clone, Jia Yan might need to use a little more hands and feet. After all, this son has also reached the level of the Venerable. Although the clone is not easy to suppress, it definitely needs to be suppressed. A little bit of manipulation. But what comes now is a clone that has reached the stellar level. Not to mention the Venerable level, even a half-star level person would not be able to move at all in front of this clone. I'm attacking? Right here? We're not going to the outside world? You know my grandparents are here. Jiarong was startled. Jia Yan smiled and shook his head. He pointed to his feet. If you can make me retreat a little, or if you can destroy the surroundings a little bit, I will lose, Jia Yan said. Look down on me. A trace of anger flashed in Jiarong's eyes. All along, what he was most dissatisfied with Jia Yan was his attitude, because every time he came back, Jia Yan didn't show any bad feelings, but his attitude towards his mother and son was weird. Although he didn't scold him, he always scolded him. There is a kind of alienation, so this is what he most wants to use force to change Jia Yan. But now he has to fight, but he still looks down on himself, and his attitude is even more condescending. You said it yourself, take the move now. Jiarong also knows that the father in front of him is a super being, and he has been fighting in aliens and other places for so many years. What he says is definitely guaranteed by his strength and is not a joke. Words. So he took action, but when he took action, he was still slightly concerned about the people and buildings around him. Well, in this move, the brainwave power is used well. It is very pure, but it is too pure. I have no actual combat experience. If you really use this kind of power to fight others, let alone the Venerable level, you will be more powerful. Even the most powerful ones are likely to defeat you. Jia Yan shook his head. He saw that Jiarong's strength improved rapidly due to his talent, but because he had little combat experience, he was unable to fully turn his strength into combat effectiveness during combat. Humph, you still say such things when you are about to die. Jiarong was furious and increased his attack power with one move. Boom. There was a slight sound of destruction. The Jia family members all around were waiting to see a scene of sparks hitting the earth, but what they saw was just a child punching out, but it hit the air with a pop, and there was no sound at all. There was no big dust in the air around the child due to the huge explosion or anything like that. Isn't Xiaorong pretty good? Last time, there was a venerable person from an alien world. When he saw Xiaorong, his eyes widened. He asked Xiaorong's age, and then he quickly paid tribute. That's right, according to many people on Earth, Xiaorong's strength is beyond what they can imagine. Many people think that even if his strength is not as good as my brother's, it's not much different. But now this. Jiarong was also shocked for a long time by the movement caused by his attack. Although he withheld this blow, if it really caused damage, it would easily destroy a house. But now, looking at it, it actually looks like a child playing with an adult. He hit it lightly. Air. This made Jiarong lose his temper, and at the same time, his heart trembled. He felt vaguely as if he had challenged the wrong opponent. That's right, this is a figure who has become a living myth on Earth. He is also the Jia Yan who has always appeared in the world with an extremely powerful appearance. He is also the person he has been pursuing to surpass his whole life. How could he be defeated by himself like this? Come again. This time Jiarong stopped holding back and used his attacks like crazy. Boom. He punched out, and there was a faint feeling of lightning on his fist. This is a talent from Satsuma. With this lightning-like power bonus, the attack power of his punch will exceed most people's imagination. It is even twice as powerful as a normal blow with his fist. You will definitely be injured with this punch. Jiarong's eyes suddenly felt a little grim. Since you still want to pretend, I'll let you get hurt and slapped in the face. He thought that Jia Yan was pretending to be a master. Maybe the previous gear seemed relatively calm, but in fact it had consumed all his strength. So he wanted to tear off the disguise of Jia Yan, a super master. Well, this punch is good. It has your mother's talent in it, and you have also made some improvements. Well, I just take it for granted. You can change the talent of a race if you want to. Haha. Jia Yan laughed again, and then he didn't make a move, or even raised his eyelids, and just watched the child's fist fall in front of his eyes. As expected, this blow once again had no effect at all. Even the lightning power emitted by Jiarong disappeared directly when it was released into the air, as if it was directly eliminated by the fluctuation caused by some kind of force. This time, Jiarong's expression finally changed. He took a step back. How could you? Aren't you a venerable level warrior? Why are you so much stronger than me? I already have the next level combat power. How could you be so much more powerful than me? Jiarong was stunned, feeling only a hint of despair. Because through the two blows just now, he seemed to have seen an unfathomable giant monster. He didn't know how powerful this monster was. He just felt that with his own strength, no amount of it was enough to kill him with just one look. At this moment, he finally knew that the gap between the two sides was simply unbelievable. It was even larger than what he had thought before. But he couldn't understand why Jia Yan was so much stronger than him. I used the initial strength of the venerable, but the changes inside are far beyond your imagination. My child, you said that you have the ability to jump to the next level. I hope you don't be too conceited. Your talent is indeed good, but as for combat ability, you will never have real combat ability unless you have personally experienced combat. Not to mention, you think you have the ability to advance to the next level. In my opinion, your strength, although you have reached the venerable level, in fact, a creature at the top of the heaven level may defeat you. In other words, you do not have the ability to jump to the next level, but others can easily defeat you. Understand yet? In addition, you made another mistake, that is, you said that I am a venerable level person. I have never said that I am a venerable level person in public. Moreover, after so many years, your strength has improved. Come up, won't I improve? Or do you think that your talent is inherited from your mother? Ha! Jia Yan shook his head and waved. Okay, that's the end of the game. Since you are here, let's go have a meal. It's been a long time since the family has eaten together. Jia Yan seemed to have done something trivial, but Jiarong on the side stayed silent the whole time. After so many years, his extremely confident mood was completely shattered by Jia Yan's performance at this moment. It turns out that he is really that strong, and his talent is also very powerful. He is even stronger than me based on time. Jiarong stared blankly at Jia Yan's back as he turned away, feeling a sense of despair. No wonder my mother said that I should never compare with him, because when it comes to talent, he is much better than me. Haha, then what have I been insisting on all these years? It is impossible to compare. The belief in Jiarong's heart collapsed in an instant, and he didn't know what to do. Suddenly a hand grasped his arm. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1593. The palm was white and soft, but of course Jiarong would not pay attention to it at the first time. Instead, he naturally knew that this was his mother, Satsumaken's finger. Xiaorong, don't blame your father, he really has his own reasons. Satsumakong felt helpless in his heart. She knew that she had done something wrong back then. She was still too young, and to the people in their biochemical empire, the children created by the combination of two people using biochemical means were just like the people on Earth treating their own children. Children are the same. Unfortunately, this is something that is impossible for people on Earth, or most people in the universe, to accept. And under such circumstances, she gave birth to Jiarong because of cultural differences. You must know that the more powerful a creature is, the more difficult it is for it to produce offspring. For example, evolution beasts with excellent talents have never heard of any offspring. This should be something determined by the laws of the universe. So back then, Satsuma Temple just wanted to give it a try, but she succeeded. For the people in the biochemical star territory, this was like fate. With hundreds of millions, or even hundreds of billions of chances, she succeeded. To be able to succeed the first time, what is this if not God's arrangement? So she came to Earth and prepared to spend her life with Jia Yan. Unfortunately, after understanding the customs of the Earth, she also understood that her idea was simply unacceptable to the people of the Earth or Jia Yan. Now that Jia Yan can tolerate what she does, and even allows mother and son to stay at home for so many years, and also provides shelter, it is already an extremely masculine performance. What happened back then, mother? You have said many times what happened back then. What happened, but you didn't tell me. How can I believe you? Jiarong laughed miserably. Although he had always heard his mother talk about what happened back then and the decision she made back then, he never knew what it was. So he thought that this should be Jia Yan's fault, and the hatred in his heart was like a seed. Even he thought that except for this incident, Jia Yan was a good man, even an upright man and a great hero. Now she keeps telling him, is there a hidden secret in this? So what is the purpose of all these years of hatred and hostility from his birth to now? It's not exactly hatred. In short, his emotions are very complicated. I will tell you if I have the opportunity in the future. Satsumaken only felt that even Jia Yan's true identity and son didn't know what happened back then, so she thought that everything must be done slowly, otherwise her son would suddenly know that the creature in front of him was not his real one at all. When her father's true form should be that huge giant mosquito in the starry sky, she couldn't guarantee whether her son would have any bad mood changes due to the excessive impact. This lunch, the Jia family had something a little weird. Of course, the biggest reason is that Jia Yan, the real pillar and the big man that the entire Earth Alliance, or the entire Orion Arm, relies on, appears at home. Even their family members feel a little uncomfortable. Jia Yan has come back too little, and has not appeared for so many years. The adults in the family are fine, but the younger generations have grown up one by one, and Jia Qi's son has also been added, which is all very strange to Jia Yan. He also felt a little weird. Haha, eat, Xiao Yan, your favorite food is probably this vegetable. Back then, I took you brothers and sisters to pick it for you every day. 30 or 40 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Time flies so fast. Mother Jia was perhaps the most natural looking among all the people. She also picked up Jia Yan's favorite vegetables and gave Jia Yan a full bowl. Speaking of which, I remember it. It's been 30 or 40 years. Time flies really fast. Jia Lin was aside, feeling very impressed by what Jia Mu said. It's been 34 years. Of the two brothers and sisters back then, one is now a top shot and the other is a grandma, although she still looks like a girl in her 20s. Time goes by so fast. Jia Yan also sighed slightly. Although the person he is here now is not the original Jia Yan at all, his self-identity is still his original self, so when he thinks of the past, he feels like he is in a trance and dreaming. After all, as a strong man, the life he lived was completely beyond the imagination of the former Jia Yan. But looking back now, his happiest feeling was still in the childhood days of the original Jia Yan. Well, I also remembered that back then, Xiaolong, you followed me with a runny nose every day. Jia Yan smiled slightly. Brother, I'm already a grandma, can you stop talking about this? Jia Long looked unhappy. But because of the medicine and practice, she still looked like an ordinary girl in her 20s, pouting her mouth in anger, and feeling a bit like the girl next door. Okay, let's not talk about you anymore. If I didn't talk about it, I would have forgotten that you are already a grandma. Jia Yan laughed. After such a small joke, the emotions between the family members instantly became a little closer. Of course, this was just the elders like Jia Yan, and the younger generation on the side, especially the younger ones, were not familiar with Jia Yan at all, so they all did not dare to speak and just obeyed obediently. Uncle, you are full. Here are the benefits you said you wanted to give to my son. Come and get them. After having a full meal, Jia Qi, a mother, came to Jia Yan early with her own child in her arms. You little guy will no longer be cute when you become a mother. Jia Yan shook his head slightly. However, he had no intention of refusing to give. He stretched out a finger and gently touched the forehead of the little guy in Jia Qi's arms who had not been crying. Jia Qi was not nervous at all, but after all, the child between Jia Yan's fingers was her 10-month pregnancy, so she was naturally extremely nervous. When Jia Yan let go of her fingers, the child still seemed as if nothing had happened, and she let out a long sigh of relief. Okay, I have activated some of his talents. When this talent will slowly appear in the future, I still have some cultivation techniques here. You can give them to him. Jia Yan said calmly, then took out a certain brain and sent a piece of information to Jia Qi. Okay, thank you uncle. Jia Qi was instantly happy. Although she didn't know what the talent and cultivation method Jia Yan mentioned were, the person who took it out was Jia Yan. With his identity, the benefits he took out were absolutely impossible to miss of. I also want. Jia Ruo had been waiting for a long time, and finally it was her turn. Jia Yan nodded, stretched out his finger again, and tapped her forehead lightly. My method is more effective for younger children, but it is also effective for adults. Let me do it for you all. Jia Yan simply didn't use his fingers, and waved his brainwave power slightly, and in an instant, he secretly left a certain transformation energy in the minds of everyone present. Of course, this energy does not act to destroy, but to provide some unique help based on Jia Yan's understanding of brain waves. Especially in cultivation, it will be of great benefit to future cultivation. Moreover, Jia Yan left some thoughts, that is, secretly leaving some fighting strength in the bodies of each Jia family relative. These powers exist, and as long as the enemy is not a creature above the level of a venerable, they can protect Jia's family. Of all the people present, only Jia Rong, who had been silent all this time, noticed this when Jia Yan released these powers. Originally, Jia Yan hesitated and wanted to help Jia Rong, but Jia Rong sneered and shook away the power he had released. Jia Yan shook his head and ignored it. Although this power did not help Jia Rong, some knots in his heart were slightly untied. After lunch and the family went back to their own lives, Jia Rong and Satsuma Kono walked towards their cabins. Mother, this man treats you like nothing. I don't know why you insist on being with him. Although I also know that your identity is extraordinary, and I even know that he is definitely not what I see. It's simple, but I don't think I will have any chance of surpassing him in the future. As long as I can surpass him, I will definitely let him treat you well. Jiarong said this to Satsuma. This, Xiaorong, I will tell you in the future, but don't be too impulsive, you know. Okay, I know. Jiarong nodded with some understanding. In a deserted place, Jiarong is alone in his room. Then he looked up at the sky, as if his eyes could see through the endless starry sky to other distant worlds. Unfortunately, I always thought that my strength would be that of a person who could jump to the next level of fighting. But today I realized that with the same strength, my fighting ability is as good as that of that person. In this way, even if my talent can reach his level, but at the same level, it is almost impossible for me to pose any threat to him. Then the only way to solve this problem is to improve my actual combat effectiveness. On Earth, it is impossible to improve my strength. In this case, I must go out. Let's go. In fact, I have known for a long time that this Earth has long become a shackle that limits my strength. That person also walked out of the Earth because of this, right? In other words, if I can cultivate this kind of strength alone on Earth, it should be it's my talent. Haha, in that case, I will go out and become famous on the outer planet. When my strength exceeds his, then I will make my mother famous and vent my bad breath. I swear, Jiarong, will definitely surpass Jia Yan in the future. That night, a dim light soared into the sky and flew out from the earth. And as the light soared into the sky, it cut through the sky. When it passed through a certain starry sky, a faint brainwave power was attached to this light. After a while, the light flew away. And in this starry sky, an earth-shattering creature that reached the 10-kilometer level and was even more terrifying in strength flew out silently in a burst of distortion. I don't know if you can be considered my son, but if you call me father, I will take on this responsibility. What's more, aren't you really a father and son? Speaking of which, this boy's feeling of becoming stronger is quite similar to mine, haha. The light that left the sky was a battleship, and it was a super technological item purchased by the Earth through certain means from outside the Orion Arm, so it was very fast. Although this battleship may not be extremely advanced in the outer star field, in the Orion Arm, it is definitely the only one with amazing technology. In this super battleship, a young man who looked like an Earthling was silently looking at the Earth behind him and flying towards the outside world. He is Jiarong. Mom, I will be back soon. Although your status in the Geo family is a bit embarrassing, everyone still regards you as a family member, so I am not worried about you. Don't worry about me either. I just went out to do some morning work. Just the right thing to do. Jiarong was unaware that while passing through a space where he didn't feel anything at all, the giant mosquito creature that the people on Earth regarded as a god appeared just like that and released a force that was around him or around him. Stop in some places. For Jia Yan today, it is no longer an exaggeration to think that his brainwave power has reached some unfathomable level, so that he could do such a thing. This brainwave power released directly from the real body has reached an astonishing star-level strength, and it has the power of at least 3 strikes. In front of it, a true star level may be wiped out. This is what Jia Yan gave himself. For the first time, this nominal son showed the emotions that a father should have. Okay, with my power, he shouldn't encounter any major problems. After all, with his strength, even if he takes risks, he can't go beyond a few thousand light years. In these thousands of light years, he can reach a constant level. There are only so many existences at star level or above, and it's funny that he, a venerable, can provoke such existences. Jia Yan smiled slightly and gave up paying attention to his son. The release of a wave of brainwave power, and through the yin and yang Dao method, is also a relatively heavy burden for Jia Yan's real body, so he also needs to take a break. You must know that Jia Yan is an evolved beast with unlimited endurance. The energy release even requires him to rest, which shows how huge the consumption is. In fact, If other star-level creatures knew that Jia Yan could actually do such a thing, they would probably break their glasses, because similar methods can only be done by galaxy-level beings, just like Jia Yan did back then. When Yan was young, she encountered the Queen of the Zerg outside the gray-yellow star. It was because she was the territory lord that she had the ability to possess the body of a subordinate at such a long distance. The incident, and even the possession in the future, will still follow Jia Yan. As for the power that the Queen of the Zerg has been following, Jia Yan is now completely unable to do it, and even a little bit incomprehensible. However, since he can release his power to help his relatives remotely, this ability is slowly approaching those powerful beings.